So the title of today's session is the Underground Social Selling Playbook, which the 1%, I'm going to show you how the 1%, the top 1% are using this to unleash leads and sales using a social strategy that not very many people know. And more importantly, what's important to you is I want to show you how you can do it too. And once you learn this, and I know really that anyone can do this, if you're thinking, shoot, I'm not sure I can actually do this. Once you have this roadmap and this strategy, once you learn it, you'll be ahead of your competitors. And then if you start to apply it, that's when things begin to happen. If this is your first time joining one of these sessions, drop me a 1 in the chat, whether you're in Zoom and Facebook or in LinkedIn, if this is your first session here, because we're in the middle of a series. Cool, we got a lot of newbies here. Awesome. Michael, Jared, Gina, Melissa, Douglas Gibson, my man is here. We're in the middle of a series focused on how to market, sell, and lead through this time of crisis. And it's all centered around this idea of omni-channel social marketing and sales. If those are buzzwords that are new to you, I'm going to define that here in just a moment. But what's most important is I want to be bringing you, Mindfire's goal here is to bring you these insights from people who are actually doing this stuff, okay? Not some theoretical, fuzzy notion of what you might want to do or what you could be doing, but from people who are actually making it happen. And so this is for you. If you're in the audience right now and you're an agency, we have a lot of commercial printers, a lot of folks in the print space. We have a lot of B2B organizations who are going after other businesses. We have B2C folks. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to answer a quick poll to help me understand who actually is here. And it's for you if you're in leadership, if you sell yourself, maybe you oversee a sales team, if you're in marketing, and we want to make sure that we're delivering you value. And one of the ways that we do that, Michael says he's in printing, awesome, is by keeping this interactive. So this chat that you're seeing right now in Zoom, Facebook, and LinkedIn, a few of my team, Mackenzie and Jessica, are in there. I want you to chat. Also, to my right here, I have my text messaging. And for those of you who are brave enough, Mackenzie, go ahead and drop in my text message, my text number in there, my cell phone number. I can actually see you texting me throughout this session with your questions. So I want to make sure you have that. Mackenzie's going to drop that in the chat. Stay interactive, folks, because that's how you're going to get the most value out of this. And this is what's going to keep us connected and able to give you the most value. So in a few seconds, I'm going to kick this off, but I want to introduce myself here just briefly. I'll tell you more about us in just a moment. My name is Dave. I am the person that you're seeing here on the screen, the voice that you're hearing. I'm going to formally introduce myself in just a second. I'm seeing a bunch of names still coming into the room, so I want to do a quick poll since I don't know all of you. Hey, there's Fred. I know Fred. I'm going to do a quick poll, and I want you to answer these questions for me. So you should be able to see the screen now. I've got 3 quick questions just to get to know you better before I introduce myself. I want to know, number 1, what industry are you in? And we've kind of pulled some of the top industries that we usually see in these sessions. So go over there and answer that. I want to know how many people are in your company. So I have an assessment of kind of the size of the group here in terms of organizational size. And then I want to know your role. Okay, Michael says 12 people in his company. So if you're in Facebook or if you're in LinkedIn, you're not going to see this poll where you can answer it there on your screen. Just drop it into the chat for us. Like Jack is doing here. He says they're a printer, 40 people in sales. Cool. So I'm going to give you another 2 seconds to respond. 1, 2. We almost got everybody voting here. And I don't know if you can see these results, but I'm just going to briefly tell you the most prevalent industry here is printing. 69% of you are in printing, followed by marketing and advertising. The organization size here that we have that's most common is 11 to 50 employees at 31%. And then 51 to 200 is the next. And the most prevalent role here, most of you are owners, partners, or CXOs in your company. That's the winning group of people that are here. Awesome. Thank you for that. I'm going to go ahead and close that poll. Appreciate that. Always like knowing who you are. And it's great to see such a variety of people here today. If you're wondering, is this information going to be for me? I want you to tell me if any of these resonate with you. These are some of the most difficult times that we have faced. And so if you feel any of these that are on the screen, then you're in the right spot here. If you feel like no one answers their phones, emails, or LinkedIn messages these days, and it's getting frustrating trying to reach your customers and even engage existing clients, then you're in the right spot. If people aren't at work, you can't reach them at their desk anymore. If you feel like you just have no leads, or maybe you get a few leads, but they ghost you. You engage them and then they just disappear. I heard this from one of you. We used to shine in person, right? Face-to-face sales. But we don't know how to do the same in this new digital realm. I also hear this from a lot of you that, look, I just feel like there's so much clutter out there in social and in digital. How do I stand out? Does this resonate with any of you? Drop me a yes in the chat in Zoom, Facebook, and LinkedIn. If these are things that you're thinking, these are what you told me. These are things that you told me as you came in the room. And so what I want to help you do in today's session, if point A, if you look at the screen, if point A is where you are now in these feelings and in this situation, and point B is where you want to be, I want to help you avoid this circuitous path here. You could try to figure this stuff out on your own, but what I want to do is I want to help you get there in a little bit more of a direct fashion. Now, certainly there's still going to be some ups and some downs, but you can see the path is much straighter than if you try to go out and figure this out on your own, which you certainly can. But I don't want you wandering in the desert 40 years trying to figure this out. My goal is through this material to get you to point B in a much more direct fashion. By the end of the session, you're going to know why some of what used to work in the old days, heck, even last year, a few months ago, just doesn't work the same way. And you'll know what the people who are actually selling and growing right now, what they're doing that you're not. Does that sound fair? Is that good? So hopefully, if you apply this, my goal for you, whether you're in leadership, in marketing and sales, whether you work for a print company, an agency, any of the types of organizations that are here, I want you to be able to 2x your lead flow. I want you to be able to 2x your results from where you are right now without spending money on ads. We're not going to be talking about, you need to invest money in ads. That's certainly a viable strategy, but that's not what we're talking about today. Without hiring more people and in doing it in a way that's much more predictable. Joanne is saying, what about 3x? Can I 3x? Yes, Joanne, you can 3x. But more specifically, let me make it even more concrete for you. Look at the screen here, folks. Look at the screen. How many of you provide direct mail services? Give me a yes in the chat if you provide direct mail services. There are leads for you, Melissa, Michael, Jeff, Simon, Mark, Sarah, Drew. There are leads for you. And by the way, if you don't do direct mail, if you do other services, what I'm saying still applies to you. There are leads for you sitting out there, regardless of your business, that are happening in these new places through organic conversations that you just don't know about. You have to know where they are. You have to know where to engage those people, like this example that you see here on the screen. In fact, because we get so many leads like this, because we come across these so often, that's another reason why I give you my cell phone number. I try to, here through the Mindfire platform, notify all of you when these leads are sitting out there, but often you're not checking LinkedIn enough. Our emails don't get through to you because everyone's so busy, right? So if you want to get notified through text, Mackenzie, one more time, just drop my cell phone number in there and we'll keep you apprised of when these things happen. This is a real example from just a few days ago. I want you to take what you learned today and be able to implement this strategy so that you're finding and receiving leads like this, okay? Yes, this is a post on Reddit, Jeff, absolutely. Reddit is a great place to be finding these. So that's what I want to do today. At the end of the material today, I'm going to give you a chance to take some next steps with us. If you need some hand-holding, if you need us to help you apply what you've learned today, I'll talk more about that at the end, okay? But for the next 90 minutes, what I'm going to show you, I want you to take notes here. For those of you who are note takers, I want to show you how omni-channel social selling is the key to creating more leads and sales, okay? To bring more predictability in this unpredictable world that we live in, okay? Now, if you stay to the end, Joanne Gore is actually here. Joanne is one of the kind sponsors of this series. She's made a very gracious offer to you. She has attended many of these sessions. She's somebody who actually uses social selling in her own business, and she's compiled this resource, the ultimate guide to optimizing your social media posts. She's created this guide as a special gift to all of you. If you stay to the end, we're going to send this to you. Everybody who's here today, you stay to the end, we'll be sending this to you. So thank you, Joanne, for that. It's a great resource. I've had a chance to go through it, and there's some remarkable insights. Lisa is saying Joanne is the best. Yes, she is. There are some remarkable insights in there. that you need to have that are going to support this entire strategy that we're talking about. Real quick, if you don't know who I am, I'm not going to spend much time here. I'm Dave Rosendahl, president at Mindfire. We have the opportunity to serve a variety of different customers in our portfolio. They kind of break down into two buckets: service providers. When I say that, I mean like print companies, agencies like many of you here, where we help you generate more leads within your market to help you drive those presses, to keep those presses humming if you're in the print business, or to equip you to be able to sell omni-channel services to your customers. So that's the first kind of group of folks that we work with. The second are some of the global brands like you see here on the screen. And we have an opportunity in every case here to be able to help organizations reach and engage their customers and their prospects in the channels that today's modern buyer, today's modern consumer uses. Now, in a few moments here, I'm going to break down this model for you, but I want to kind of be a little bit vulnerable here with you and rewind our story just a bit to share with you how we discovered this framework that I'm training you on today, okay? Because it's really important if you're taking notes. You have to understand some of these foundational pieces to be able to apply this to your business, okay? So if I rewind our business here, some of you don't know what this is, but this is a tape player here, right? If I rewind a few years back, at the time, we thought we were running a fairly decent marketing and sales operation. Later, we found out we were pretty much wrong about that, but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. I remember when I took this picture here that you see on the screen, I was working with our engineering team on one of our products, Mindfire Studio. Maybe some of you are familiar with that. Incredible technology. But what I remember in this moment was that I was hearing from our marketing and our sales team that even though we had this great technology, people weren't engaging us. We weren't able to feed our sales team in the way we wanted. Like, we just couldn't reach people, that we would send out emails and get no reply. That sound familiar? Or that we had a great product, and even though we were out there on social doing a little bit of posting here and there, that nobody was engaging. Does that resonate with anybody? And what we were hearing is that our database, our CRM, if you imagine this barrel as our CRM, that we were scraping the very bottom, trying to find new people to talk to. Does this resonate with anyone? Drop me a 1 in the chat, whether you're in LinkedIn and Facebook and Zoom. Drop me a 1 if that resonates. As these problems, I'm seeing a lot of you agree here, that you recognize these feelings. As these problems compounded, we started to think as a leadership team, hey, this is serious. We got to figure out what's going on. We had a few leads coming in from things like trade shows that we would do. Many of us have done trade shows over the years. You know how expensive those are, but we didn't have much new interest coming into the business on a regular basis, let alone on a daily basis, right? New inquiries, people saying, hey, what can you do for us? How can you help us? And so we were in a kind of a desperate situation to try to figure out, how are we going to turn this around? What's going on? What's broken? What has suddenly changed? How come we can't reach people anymore? And it was a pretty dark period. I have to admit, inside, if I'm being honest and vulnerable with you, which I always intend to be here, I thought, shoot, what if this whole thing is over? What if there's something so wrong that it can't be fixed? What the heck's going on? As I mentioned to you at the time, just to give you the context here for what we were doing a lot of the traditional things, like trade shows that you see here, marketing automation campaigns and emails like you see here on the right-hand side, some posting on Facebook and LinkedIn, all the traditional things, all the things you should be doing. I think you know all of these things. But as I dug in, it kind of came to a head for me on the day that I took this photo here. This was February 24th. It was a Wednesday a few years back. I know it because it was my little blondie's here. It was her birthday. Emmy is her name. And so my wife and I loaded up our kids and we headed to the happiest place on earth. And I'm the kind of guy, and my staff knows this, and some of you know that, I'm always taking pictures on my phone. I'm always documenting the journey. And I remember taking this picture as we were walking from the parking lot to the to Disneyland. And I took it because there were two things going on. One, I wanted to remember where we parked, but second, because I was sneaking texts back into the office to see how we were doing. I wanted to know how are our leads today? How are our sales today? It was close to the end of the month, being the 24th. And honestly, our sales were disgusting. And so I was doing all of this, pretending to be taking pictures while I was actually texting people back at my office. Maybe you know that feeling. Kind of sucks. Here I am at the happiest place on earth, and inside, freaking out, far from happy. Our leads were gone. Our sales were down significantly, and I was worried. I don't need to tell you this, men and women. A lot of you are owners and C-level folks here. You know that has a significant impact on your organization. And so as I got my girls onto It's a Small World, I remember distinctly as we were stepping onto that ride, I made up my mind. I said, we got to figure out what the hell's going on here. I don't want to be this guy that's smiling on the outside and on the inside, worried sick because of this situation. I don't want to continue to have family moments like this and not be able to enjoy them. Does anybody know this feeling? Again, I'm being super vulnerable here. Can you respond in kind? If you know this feeling, give me an X in the chat, in Zoom and Facebook and LinkedIn, if you know what I'm talking about here. Yeah, it robs you of life inside when you have these feelings. So here's what happened. Let me tell you what happened. I told you we were using some of these. I see a lot of you agreeing with what we're talking about here. What we were doing at the time, fairly traditional content marketing. And what happened is, working with a few others, including McKinsey, who's on the line here with us today, we started kind of doing a deep dive to understand what was going on. And what I found was actually pretty surprising. What we found was a little bit surprising. There were actually a few rays of light. A few things that we were doing actually had some life in them. What was actually performing for us was a content marketing strategy. And I'm going to share a little bit more about that with you in a second here. But what was happening is, as we put more emphasis on this particular content strategy, we started to get more leads. There were signs of life, but there proved to be a pretty significant challenge with it. It required some special HTML skills, marketing skills, copywriting skills, graphics, and things that were just not necessarily easy for our organization to spit out. And so if I go back to, this time where I was just worried, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to make this happen? I have to admit that there were points in that journey where I thought, what if this is the worst case scenario here? Even though there's a little bit of life left in this thing, what if this just doesn't work out? All the families on the line, all of the jobs on the line, we got to figure this out. And so in that moment, some of you have heard me tell this story before. I remembered something that turned out to be a very pivotal part of this process. And I'm drawing this all together so you understand the framework here. Shortly after our first daughter was born, I remember I ran over to Target to get some diapers. And as I was heading into Target, I saw this guy here. His name is Dave as well. And I could tell from my senses that he was homeless. Normally, and I'm ashamed to admit this, normally I just keep walking. Feel horrible saying that, but I'm telling you that. That day, though, thankfully, I stopped and I started talking to him. And the conversation that I had with him changed so much for me and is such a big part of this framework here. I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. First of all, I learned that what separates me from him is razor thin. That's another conversation, right? That what keeps me from being on the street and having those kinds of life experiences are just razor thin margins. And that experience, as I talked to him about how similar we actually were, really shook me. And so what I did is I ran home and I started writing about it, writing a blog. Writing for me is kind of cathartic. And I decided for some strange reason to go ahead and publish that, like I said, on my blog, okay? Personal blog. I shared how I spent time with Dave, how we bought him shoes. This is another buddy of mine that just happened to be there. And I wrote about it in detail. I wrote about it in a way that I knew would share with people kind of what that experience was like. And if you're wondering, how the heck did you take these pictures? Were you sneaking a camera around? Again, like I told you, I'm the kind of guy that's always taking pictures. If you think that's weird, it's actually something that I'm going to teach you to do later on if we go further together. And so I would write, I would share these pictures, and I even started sharing videos like the one here of my time with Dave. And what started to happen, two things shocked me in this process. Number one, people started walking up to me with wads of cash. Not for me, but for Dave. Never expected that these stories, these pictures, these videos would evoke that kind of reaction. But what was even more surprising is that people started asking me about Mindfire, about our company. What does your company do? Who are your customers? Can you help me reach more people? How do you do what you do? How do you help my people start to share in the way you're sharing? And I thought, what the heck? How does that happen? And so when we were in this dark period, when we were trying to figure out what the heck happened to our leads, I suddenly had, I guess you could call it an epiphany, it just kind of hit me in the face. I realized, wow, this is what's going on. And if you can hear me, folks, it's really key to hear this. How people communicate has dramatically changed. And unless you're publishing content that touches them by giving them value in a profound way, you're going to continue to fight an uphill battle. In addition, where people are hanging out to get that content, where they're hanging out online, you see me using air quotes. I'm going to tell you what I mean by that in a second. But where they're getting their content has also changed, and you got to be there. Unless you know how to be there, unless you know how to communicate in those channels, the old stuff, especially now with COVID, it's just going to get harder and harder. It may seem simple what I'm saying. You may think, oh, well, no duh. Or you may think I'm from another planet. I don't know how this is hitting you right now. But this moment changed everything. And as I dug into this and I started to realize, look, the communication methods are different. Where people are hanging out is different. The fact that this number here on the screen represents how many people in an organization you kind of need to be engaged with because they're now decision makers within the buying process. 5.4 is what the data show us. Some data show that this number is closer to 7, meaning that if you're just doing traditional single channel, one person kind of outreach, the way we used to market, the way we used to sell, that's not enough. And so this change, this fundamental change in how buying happens and how decisions are made, but where people get their information, technology has changed all of that. So put aside any of your preconceived notions for a moment. Just try to understand how important this was to us, how important this is to you. Maybe you think you're engaging your clients and your prospects in the places where they are or where they hang out. But I don't think you are. Many of you are not. If you're not getting the kinds of results that you're looking for, this may be why. This may be why. All right. I'm going to show you how to tap into this. What we did is we started developing technology for us specifically to help us address some of the technical challenges around making this new leap. We decided to go head first into it. Some of you have heard this product name. It's an internal code name. We call it Da Vinci. It was a secret project that we created internally to help us get our arms around this and actually create enabling technology to adjust to the way how the world had changed. And through the course of months, thousands of hours of labor, millions of dollars spent, a very clear roadmap around how you can do this emerged. And that's what I'm sharing with you today, okay? I use that story. I use those stories so you understand kind of what's underlying this whole framework. Look at the screen. If you're taking notes, I use this illustration to make it as simple as possible to understand. But don't be deceived by the simplicity of the model, okay? It's got 4 pieces, and this is what we're going into today. Number 1, you need to decide, you need to choose whether you're going to communicate in words, video, or audio. For your organization, what is the modality, we call that a modality, that's most comfortable for your organization? Creating content in words, creating content in video, or audio like podcasts, okay? I'm going to come back to that in a moment. 2, when you create that content, think back to my story with Dave. In a B2B scenario or B2C scenario, that content must provide the recipient with value. Not what you think is value, what they think is value. If you failed in your efforts to put content out there to actually engage people in a meaningful way, I humbly submit it might be this second piece here. And then 3rd, you need to share this content. You need to publish it multiple times a day on the small number of platforms that matter right now, where your tribe, your audience, where they are present, where their attention is high, and where the cost to engage is low. I call that attention arbitrage. I'm going to get to that more in a minute. That's a very, very key point, okay? We're going to dive into that more. And then 4thly, you need to learn how to siphon engagement, all of the stuff that's happening here, to turn it into leads and ultimately into sales, okay? Those are the 4 pieces. I'm going to show you how these 4 work together. Now, the big unlock for many people is this omni-channel concept right here. And let me describe to you what I mean by that. It kind of means 3 things in this context. First of all, you need to be in the right channel for your client or your prospect. You need to figure out, where are they right now? Where is their attention? You kind of need to reverse engineer that. I'm going to tell you where I suspect that is for most of you here in just a bit, okay? I will give you insight into that. Second, ideally, you need to find one of the channels that's content deficient. I'll explain that term in a moment. Basically, when you factor this into your strategy, your ability to be seen by your target market increases dramatically. Okay, I'm going to tell you again what I mean by that in a second. And lastly, you need to be publishing content in a way that's contextualized to that platform. Simple way to put that is, if you find out your folks are hanging out on Facebook, the way you communicate on Facebook is different than on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is different than on Twitter, all right? So you need to contextualize how you're communicating specific to that platform. Let's talk about results. What does this strategy actually do? Some of you are numbers people, I know. These are the kinds of results that we got when we followed this framework. Before we put this in place, we were around 79 leads a month. Last year, we averaged 496 per month. And this year, even with the pandemic, we're at 357. Now, the delta there, we haven't attended any trade shows. Typically, when we go to trade shows, we also acquire the names of the people that are going to those trade shows, and we market heavily to them. As you know, we haven't done that. None of us have done that this year. So this is what it can do for you, from 79 to 496 or to 357. Does that make sense? That makes sense? Now, leads are good, but revenue is the final arbiter, in my book at least. And so these are the year-over-year sales results from new customer revenue. Okay, if you say, hey, these are from folks who already know you, they already like you, they already trust you. No, I'm talking about just new customers, new revenue, a 69% increase in revenue, 40% more customers. That makes sense? Are you getting this? Give me a yes in the chat if you're understanding this. Give me a yes in the chat. This is the power of what I'm describing, whether you're watching on LinkedIn, Zoom, or Facebook. I want to see the yeses coming in. It's cool that it works for Mindfire. Does it work for you, right? That's probably the question that a lot of you are thinking right now. 2 weeks back, we had Brian Galad. We had him talking about his case study, how he's been able to siphon, that's something you're going to learn today, 60,000 leads within his target market using this framework, resulting in 6 figures in sales. We've actually done a case study with him as well. We did the interview 2 weeks ago. If you want that information, if you missed it for whatever reason, either the case study or the video, just drop the word Brian in the chat. Drop the word Brian, his first name here, and you can see how it worked for him. Okay, this works not only for folks like us and other hundreds of customers of ours that have worked with us in this process, but it can work for you too. And what I want you to know is how others have done it. So if you want this case study, if you want the videos, drop the word Brian and we'll make sure we'll get that over to you. So this is the process that feeds our sales now. The playbook is clear. We're able to use it to accelerate the opportunities that are coming into our organization. And I put this picture of me here on this boat, not to flash my Lamborghini or some fancy boat to you. That's not the point. The point is so that you know that when I'm smiling here on the outside, I'm feeling the same thing on the inside now, because we have figured out this issue. We figured out that omni-channel social selling is the key that we were missing to creating the leads and sales. But forget about me. What makes me even happier is that I'm able to share this with all of you. I'm able to share it with thousands of people, thousands of organizations, and help them take this journey. And that's what I'm sharing with you right now. I'm at a point in my career where I love being able to give back and help all of you apply these same things to your business. So in the next little while here, I'm going to break these 3 pieces apart. We're going to go deeper into this, okay? 3 secrets. First, how this approach took us from broke to growing in a recession. How, in secret 2, I outsold my top salesperson using this strange strategy. And how I'm convinced that you can do it too. It's going to be transformative for many of you. And third, how to force and ignored social media to give you free advertising. I'm going to show you $48,326 specifically in free advertising so that you never run out of fresh, new prospects, eyeballs looking at your stuff. Are you ready? Let's start with secret number 1, how a completely different approach to lead gen took us from broke to growing in a recession. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go piece by piece through this model here, okay? If you're taking notes, take out that pen, take out that paper. I'm going to start with 1, which is modality, and 2, value, and help you understand those so you can apply those to your situation, okay? And if you remember, I told you when we discovered this framework, we started by investing a lot more time into content, a lot more time. For example, we launched this podcast, right? Some of you recall our podcast. It's not necessarily easy, though, to create a podcast. So we said, why don't we create video? Maybe video is easier. But again, it's not always easy to create video. Some of those challenges that you have in creating audio or video are things that are not necessarily easy to overcome. But at the end of the day, what we found that really worked is whether it was video or audio, it was producing content that was key. Like this piece here. This is actually an ebook that we published, 3 ways to connect direct mail with Facebook to increase leads. This worked very, very well. Cost us months and tens of thousands of dollars, somewhere around $25,000, I think. But it worked very, very well. The thing that we found that was difficult, and give me a yes in the chat if you resonate with this, is that creating high-value content like this isn't easy. It's time-consuming. It's expensive. Does that resonate with you? Give me a yes in the chat. Give me a yes. I see the yeses. It says Edward, Warren, Philip, Fred. And what bothers me even more sometimes, I recall this feeling, is that sometimes we'd invest all this time and money into the content, we put it out there, and there was like no response from the market. How the heck can that be? You put all this time and money to something and it doesn't work? What's going on? How come some things do really well and other things fall flat? And so it was then that I discovered this key that's going to help many of you leapfrog in creating content that engages your market. What we discovered was a way to tap into the signals of content that's already working, content that's already engaging your market, to understand what would work for you, to get around this nasty problem. Let me explain to you what I mean by already working. I know that sounds strange. So one night, if you look at the screen, I was lying in bed, scrolling through Facebook, as many of us do. And this was during that time where we were freaked out about how we were going to make this thing work. And so I went to Facebook, and instead of typing in the name of a friend up here in the upper left, can you see that? I typed direct mail, okay? And I was surprised that what came back were articles, content around direct mail. And what I noticed is that you can see this right here, 704 people liked this piece of content. 268 comments, 86 shares. This one had 68, this one had 38. This one had 69, this one had 1 comment. Without even looking at the content itself, I suddenly realized, hey, there's a little bit of a signal here around what's working. And I thought, does this work on LinkedIn as well? So I went over to LinkedIn, I typed in the same thing, direct mail, and sure enough, back came posts that gave me a clue as to what was already working. So if you look back here on the screen, look at the screen. This one over here had 947. So something about this headline, maybe something about this image, maybe something about the content was already resonating. And so the next morning, I remember I ran into my office. I think I banged my car on a post because I was so excited trying to get up to my office. And I ran over to my team and I said, hey, is there a way that we can use these signals to write content that has a very similar headline? Maybe the content flow is similar or similar picture because we already know it's working. Or is there a way we could use their content somehow and put our call to action inside of it? And I remember my team looked at me like I was crazy. What are you talking about? I know it's a strange idea. I know it's unorthodox, but it drove me to look around for something that would enable us to use that content with our own call to action, our own button inside of it. And here's what I found. Write this down. If you want to use this yourself, you can use it later. It's called Sniply, S-N-I-P-L-Y. They have a free level. They also have a paid level that I think is $150 or $200 a month. Very much worth it. And here's what it does. You find one of these pieces of content that's working. So step one is identifying something that has a high social signal, one of these pieces here. Step two, go to Sniply. And what happens with Sniply is it will give you this unique URL that you can share with the world. And it enables you to put a banner at the bottom so that when somebody goes to that URL, they see your banner with your button, with your call to action. Give me a yes if you just had a light bulb go off. Give me a yes in the chat. For whatever reason, this content resonates. Now you add an overlay that links back to your site, back to your landing page, back to your form. Give me a yes. You didn't have to create this content. All you had to do was configure this right here. And now what we found is when you share this multiple times a day across the platforms that matter, email, social, that we could start to siphon a subset of the people who are reading this content. We could siphon them by putting this button right here, bringing them back to our website and converting them into a lead for us. Does that make sense? I'm going to describe that more in a minute, okay? Here's a little time-saving technique. It's called BuzzSumo. Again, write this down. BuzzSumo. As I was looking for these articles like this one here, I thought, shoot, wouldn't it be nice if there was some way where I could kind of go, instead of having to, go to LinkedIn, go to Facebook and find all of these different little signals here and tabulate them manually. Wouldn't it be nice if there was something that pulled that all together? That's what BuzzSumo does. So you can type in a topic like direct mail, and it'll pull back articles and give you the social signals from like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, et cetera. So you can rank and prioritize those to know what's doing well. You can use it for free, but I did what I think every good entrepreneur, every good business leader has to do. I reached into my pocket, pulled out our company credit card. I don't recall how much it was. I think about $1,800 or $2,000 for the year to be able to unlock the searches. Actually, I think it was about $200 or $250 a month, maybe a little bit more. But it unlocks all of this great potential content that you can use in this system. And I know what some of you are thinking. Why do I have to use somebody else's content? Why can't I create my own? And I always reference this saying here. You can always tell who the pioneers are because they have arrows in their back and they're lying face down in the dirt. If you could use something like this to kickstart your situation and get where you want to be faster, why do you need to start from the ground up? If you do want to start from the ground up, why don't you at least use the themes that are working, learn from here to inform you as to what you should create? Are you getting this? Give me a yes if you're seeing how this comes together, okay? So the first thing you need to do is you need to pick the modality, words, video, audio. You need to provide value, and you need to communicate that and siphon that engagement. I just showed you a way where you can do these first two pieces here in a much faster way, okay? So let me just recap. If you're writing notes, step one, find content that already works. Step two, forgive me for using this word, hijack it by adding your call to action. I see Mark saying it's a great concept. Creating content is the big time killer. Yeah. So in step one, you're finding content that already works, Mark. I think you got it. Hijack it by adding your call to action. And then three, share it. And what happened for us is suddenly we were able to generate dozens, hundreds, thousands of leads on command. Now, is this going to happen to you the first time you do it? No, probably not. But you're going to need to learn what I'm going to share with you in the remainder of today's training. You need to learn how to do this the right way to be able to get the engagement that you're looking for. But this technique right here will save you so much time. Here is Joanne. Joanne's actually on this call today. She uses the techniques and the strategies that I'm talking about here. She gave me permission to share this. So I just wanted you to hear from others who are also using these strategies to drive their business. She says, thank you. I sent out 4 proposals last week and I booked 3 great meetings. I'm way more confident in front of a camera. So she's experimenting with the modality of video, right? I know you hear it from a lot of people, but I'm so freaking glad we met on the trade show floor. Joanne and I met in the BC days before Corona, face-to-face, and I've had a great friendship since then. So Joanne is somebody who's doing it. She's the one who's actually making that resource available to you at the end of the event. So I wanted to make sure you hear it from somebody else as well. Now, Mac, what I want to do real quick, I'm sure you're flooded with questions. I'm sure you have a lot of stuff coming in. If you don't mind, jump on camera real quick. I want to take one key question that you have from the audience related to what we just covered.
You got it. Let me just see. So it looks like the most common question that we're getting about the content is that people want to know if it's legal to be able to repurpose other people's content. Someone asked, is there any copyright infringement? So maybe you can address that live.
Got it. Yeah. So when you use Sniply, it doesn't reproduce or recreate the content anyway, basically. And I'm speaking geeky terms here, so forgive me, but it uses an iframe which basically is a page that's pulling the original content inside of it. So the original page is being pulled from their servers. Nothing changes there. Whoever owns that content maintains all the traffic. They get all the analytics, the SEO credit if they have ads running in that page, if they have AdSense. They all still get that. So you're not doing anything that's infringing upon their ability to monetize their own content or to serve their content. You're still sending traffic to that page. Now, if a certain publisher says, you know what, I don't want to be housed in an iframe, there is a way that they can opt out with a little bit of code on their page. But most people that we've worked with, most content providers that we've actually done this ourselves with, they're thankful and appreciative of the additional traffic that you're able to send to them. So yeah, there are some sites that will opt out of it, as you'll find as you use this. But by and large, Mackenzie, that's kind of how I would answer it. And I'm just looking at the time, Mac. Why don't you hold the other questions? Let's get to the rest of them in a little bit. Is that okay?
You got it. I'll come back.
Cool. Thank you, Mac. Great questions. Keep those questions coming in, folks, whether you're in LinkedIn or Zoom. I want to make sure we're delivering everything that you need to know to understand this. So keep those questions coming in. Mackenzie is doing a fantastic job collating those for me. I want to move now into secret number 2, how this technique allowed us to outsell our top salesperson using this strategy. And more importantly, how I want to convince you that once you know how to do it, you can do it for yourself as well. Okay, I want you to be able to copy this process. And so when we worked this framework, you're familiar with it here on the screen. What we found, and I mentioned this to you, is that existing technology really wasn't sufficient to, kind of be able to pull all of this together. There was technology that was missing. And so that's why we invested in creating this internal application platform that we codenamed DaVinci. I mentioned that to you a moment ago to make that process easier. And as I hinted at earlier, when we started, it was a very manual process. It was really time intensive, but we found there were certain workflows, kind of like the one you see here on the screen, that worked really, really well to be able to drive traffic and siphon engagement. Does anybody want me to show you that? Or is it pretty self-explanatory by what you're seeing here on the screen? Drop a yes if you want me to actually walk you through this. I'm happy to. Send me those yeses. Okay, yeah, it looks like people would like that. So here's one quick example of a workflow. This is just one example. There are others as well. Once you find, let me grab my pen here. Once you find a piece of content that works really well, and you add the call to action overlay here, that's what that represents right there. What we found you should do is drive traffic to that piece of content by engaging your audience through the optimal channels. And so for many of you, that's going to be, certainly email is still very, very viable. The one we're going to be talking more about here in a minute is LinkedIn, okay? And so you want to drive traffic from those channels to that piece of content. And if you put the call to action in the page correctly, you will be able to siphon some number of those people to a next step. Let's say you have an ebook or a PDF or a white paper or a guide or a checklist that is germane or relevant to this piece of content, maybe like the next step in that educational process. If you link to it, you will get a certain percentage who then go to the landing page, fill in their information, grab that ebook, and get added to your email drip. Does that make sense? So that's at a high level. That's one of the workflows that we found that worked really well, but it was time consuming for us, even with the existing technology that we have. It wasn't necessarily easy to pull this together. So what we created is a technology that helps us, first of all, figure out who is the target market that we want to go after, to define that, find content that's resonating with that target market, drive traffic to that content, and then siphon engagement. And now with this process, with this technology, even if you don't have technical skills or marketing skills, it becomes so much easier to actually do this. How many of you want to see that? I'm going to do a quick demo here. How many of you, drop me a yes in the chat if you want to see how this is done. I'm going to do a quick demo here. I'm going to turn off my camera so I don't distract you here. And I'm going to show you how you actually do this. Let me get inside of DaVinci here. All right, so you should be able to see it on the screen right now. Let me know if you can see my mouse moving around. Can everyone see that? Let me know there in the chat. And so what I want to do now is I want to walk you through those 4 steps in the strategy, okay? Here's step 1, where we define the target market. So we come over here to My Markets, and what I'm going to do just for this example here is I'm going to create a new target market. And let's see, I'm going to call it direct mail target market, since I know we have a lot of direct mail folks here. And I'm going to tell the system to find content that is related to direct mail. Okay, so that's what I'm doing here. I'm telling the system, go find me some content that's related to direct mail, so that I can then in step 2 hijack that content to be able to create engagement and siphon leads back to me. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit refresh, and then let's go inside of this target market right here. And as you can see, it's come back with a lot of content all related to direct mail. Can you see that here? These are articles that the system has found that have engagement. And what I often will do is I'll sort over here by the different engagement tallies. So I can see, for example, this one is doing fairly well on Facebook. And I've sorted by Facebook here. I can also sort by total engagements. Can you see this here? So this will give you a sense for how well content is doing across the web, across social, okay? So without having to create your own content, you have an idea of A, what kind of content is working, you know, headlines, imagery, thematic content, etc. And B, now you can also use that content. Let me show you. Let's just find one simple example. Let's see here. Let's use this one right here, okay? So when I click on that, it's going to open up from our friends over at Brand United. This is your brain on direct mail. And let's say you read through this, and for your particular needs, this is a good article, okay? Let's say you have a commercial print house, you do print and mail, and you want to talk to your tribe about direct mail and siphon some of that engagement. So let's pretend that's your scenario. I'm going to come back here, right here, and I'm going to say add a call to action to that, okay? So what we're telling the system to do is I want to add that call to action overlay on top of this content, okay, so that we can start to siphon some of that engagement over to us. And we're going to pick this one right here. Actually, let me show you what that looks like first so you have an idea. Here's the preview, okay? So this is that same piece of content. We now have a unique URL for that piece of content with our call to action overlay down here. Do you see that? So in this example, I've added an overlay that I already had created that's a report about the future of direct mail, and the reader can then download a study by clicking this button, okay? So it's pretty congruent with this content up here. So what I'm going to do is say, okay, let's go ahead and launch that. And that looks fine. And what the system is going to do now, part of the magic behind the system here is in step 3 of this process, it's going to actually create an omni-channel campaign to be able to help us drive traffic to that, okay? So that's what I'm going to show you now. I've just shown you, first of all, how to define your target market. We made the direct mail target market. I showed you step 2, which is how to hijack some content for that. And now step 3, I'm going to show you how the system actually creates a campaign, like all of the elements that you need, all the omni-channel elements that you need to drive traffic to that piece of content, okay? And the reason why you're doing that is so you can siphon engagement from that content and turn it into leads, okay? So let's come back here, and you can see the system has created 2 campaigns for us. One is a drive traffic. This is the kind of omni-channel campaign that's going to push people to that piece of content. And this is a capture lead campaign. This is the one that's going to siphon the engagement, okay? So first, let me show you the drive traffic. We load that up. And remember, the system has done all of this on its own already behind the scenes for us, okay? This blueprint, that's what we call this, a blueprint. It's an omni-channel blueprint that allows you to do this more quickly and easily. This blueprint is designed to drive traffic to a piece of content. And for this purpose here, we're using the one that we just found a second ago, okay? But it could be anything. But in this case, I'm showing you how to use this one. Now, what's cool about this is, check this out. These are the different omni-channel touches that you can use to drive traffic to it. This is an email. And look at this. It's already written most of the email for us. So, of course, you need to come in here and say, thanks for reading this. Oops, can't type today. Love, who do we have here on the line? Just pick on you, Brian. Love Brian. Okay, so you can go in and customize the email. You can hover over any of these areas. They're all editable. You can change the image. But what's really helpful here, What saves a lot of time is that the system has gone in and pulled out things like the subject line, the pre-header, the image, the text here, so that you have like 80% of it already done. And of course, you can also do the same thing in Facebook. You can do the same thing in LinkedIn. We don't have time to go into all of that today, but the system is going to help you drive traffic. That's the name of this blueprint here, drive traffic to that piece of content. Now, as attentive salespeople, we need to know when certain things are happening to that content. So the system makes it very easy to say, hey, notify me when somebody's opening up an email, okay? Notify me when somebody's visiting this piece of content. When somebody's actually reading it, let me know, okay? And that's what these alerts do here for you. Very helpful, folks, for siphoning the engagement from that piece of content to turn it into something actionable, okay? Now, the last thing I need to do is just schedule when I want this sequence to start and who I want it to target, okay? So if I have a list, a CSV file, or maybe somebody from my database, a list of people from my database, I can say, all right, send it to that group. We could call this our clients, and you pick it from here. This is a list of all the people you've uploaded, set the date and time, and you're good to go. Does that make sense? Now, when people go to this URL, when you're driving traffic to it, let me show you something real quick here. Let me pull it up. Here it is, right? People are going to read this content. They're going to like it. And when they get to the bottom, they're going to see your call to action overlay, and they're going to say, huh, that's interesting. I want to find out more about that. So they click on that button. And what it does is now it takes them to a landing page that you're using to siphon engagement from that piece of content. Does that make sense? Give me an X in the chat if you understand that. We've come from this content here. You have your overlay. You now have something that's thematically related to that content, driving them to a landing page where, in this example, they can download an ebook. I'm just going to do that real quick here for you, just so you see what happens here. And now it says, thank you for sending in your contact information. Check your email to get the ebook. Now, the system, I'm going to show you, has done all of this for me behind the scenes. Let me show you where that is. Sure, let's leave. Here's that campaign right here. It's called a capture lead. This is the one that in step 4 is going to siphon the engagement. Okay, so step 1, we defined the target market. Step 2, I showed you how to hijack some content. Step 3, I showed you how you're driving traffic to that content. And now step 4, you're going to siphon engagement by using a landing page here that's set up to capture information from the interested viewer. Okay, so here's the landing page we just saw. I can come in here. Let's just remove that. Let's say we want to say, welcome to your ebook. I don't know. That's a silly example, right? But I'm just giving you an idea of how you edit the content here. And similar to what we did in the email, we can add more text here. Just hover over those areas and start typing. We can change out the form over here. There's a variety of forms that we can pick from, all with the intent of making it very simple to siphon engagement from the reader. Okay, now that's the welcome page. Here's the thank you page. Remember, we saw this a second ago, so we can change all of this stuff here. Let's add another exclamation mark. We're super happy today. And that's basically it there. Okay, so I'm breezing through the setup of the landing page. That's a very, very important part of the process, because what you're doing is you're now taking readers, turning them into people you can communicate with. And the way you can communicate with them is numerous. You can pick up the phone and call them, or the system has a built-in email sequence that they can start to get. In other words, they can be dripped on by an email sequence here. So as soon as they submit the form in that landing page, you've now siphoned that engagement, and now you're going to nurture them with an omni-channel drip sequence here. Does that make sense? And just like I showed you a second ago, all of this is editable. You know, now I'm going to pick a different name here. I'm going to put, who should I put? Lisa. Thank you, Lisa, for letting me use your name there. And you get the idea, right? You can add any number of emails, change the subject line, change the image. All of it is 80% done for you. You just got to go in and configure the rest. Now, I didn't show you this, but you can change. I think I see somebody. Yeah, I think I see someone asking this already. You can change the layout. You know, there's different templates, a variety of different layouts that you can use. You can even make it look, you know, handwritten, very simple. You can change who it's coming from. There's a lot of settings that allow you to customize it. Or if you like getting into the HTML and you have a layout that you want to use that's custom, you can also do that here through the asset library. You load that asset, and then you can use it there in any of your emails. Now, since the whole point of this is to be able to engage with people as they interact with the campaign, similar to what I showed you a minute ago in the drive traffic campaign, here you can get notified when people visit that landing page. Let's say we want to send it to our sales team. Of course, when a lead is created, when somebody submits that form, we need to know that. And this is where you can turn all of that on, okay? So what I just showed you here in just a few minutes, and I'm flying by all of this at a very high level, I showed you the strategy around, number one, how you create a market that is going to collect content for you. This is basically a bucket of thematically related content that you know already works. And there's a lot of other options here. I don't have time to go into all of it, but that's the first thing we've done here. Second, I showed you how to hijack that content so you can start to then drive traffic to it with the campaigns that the system pretty much sets up for you in advance. And then fourthly, how you can start to siphon that engagement. In other words, take those passive anonymous viewers and turn them into people you can engage with by using this capture lead campaign here to turn those people into someone you can work with. Does that make sense? That makes sense, everyone? Go over to the chat. I want to make sure that this is making sense. So here's John. You can use this for a variety of different use cases. I saw some of you asking, who creates the ebook? Who creates the PDF? Do I need a PDF? Can I use it for webinars? Yeah, you can use it for a variety of different types of campaigns. Here's John saying, we just hit 100 webinar registrations. My goal was 50 and my previous best was 29. That was for a real life presentation. This is our first campaign and we're pretty excited about this. So I'm sure some of you here who, if you use this kind of strategy, you can start to tap into your existing list, the people that you already have engagement with, and be able to extract more value out of them. Or, like I'm going to show you here in just a minute, start to pull new people into your sphere and start to engage with them. Mackenzie, you know what? Since we're a little bit behind, I've been going a little bit more deeply into some of these. Why don't you hold the question? Are you getting a lot of questions right now, Mac?
Yeah, but that's okay. I can hold them.
Okay, yeah, why don't you hold them? I was going to take a few here, but let's hold because I want to answer those all in just a moment. I want to give you all an opportunity to understand. Now, if you have this in place, I've shown you how you can accelerate your progress by understanding what's already working, right? I've shown you how there is a technology that enables you to do this more easily. But what a lot of you still struggle with, and this was true for us as well, is what if we don't have enough new names to bring into our sphere of influence? Like I told you, we were scraping the bottom of the barrel. So let me show you how you can use social to give you free advertising, okay? And what I'm going to talk to you about here goes a little bit more deeply into this part right here. Get ready to take notes, folks. Please, I want you to understand this. This model is predicated on understanding what's happening in social, okay? There's a big set of concepts here that you need to understand. I'm going to explain all of these to you in detail. First of all, if you recall, when we started all of this, like I said, similar to where many of you are right now, we were trying to figure out, okay, how do we bring more people into this process, okay? We didn't have enough names. Buying a list is, in our opinion, and I think many of you might also see it some of this way, buying a traditional list the old-fashioned way just doesn't address the problem well anymore. It doesn't work so well in some cases, and it can be expensive. So what we thought to ourselves is there a way, how can we leverage what's happening on social and actually get some of that traffic over to us? And so that's what the social selling framework is all about. I'm going to show you the 4 pieces of that, okay? And so that is this portion right here. If you look down here on the lower left, new people, in many cases, new people, new prospects can enter in through social and can be sent to this traffic. Now, we tried other ways of doing this. We tried using Google ads, Facebook ads, other time-consuming and expensive mechanisms, and some of those work very, very well. But what I want to show you is that there is a way to actually leverage LinkedIn right now to be able to take advantage of a significant opportunity there. What happened for us is when we started to look into LinkedIn more deeply, as you can see here on the screen, I've got it articulated here. Initially, I thought it was just for job hunters or for students. folks that needed a job. Maybe they're unemployed. And I'm ashamed to say that that's kind of how I pigeonholed it in my head when we were going through this. But what I found was something so much more powerful than any of that. What I came to realize was that LinkedIn is giving you and giving me huge exposure for free. And I'll tell you exactly why that's happening. When we learned that, we went all in with LinkedIn. Here are some of the stats. I'm not going to go into great detail, but I want to show you how you actually need to use LinkedIn to do this. Okay, there's 4 pieces here. If you think you've tried LinkedIn and it hasn't worked for you, it's likely because you're not applying these 4 components to the framework here. Number 1, you need to establish your brand. You need to recraft your LinkedIn profile in a very specific way. And when I say recraft your profile in a specific way, 50% of buyers, listen up, 50% of buyers avoid you because you have an incomplete profile. Do you know what you're missing? You could be losing half your potential customers right there. Others of you, this is probably closer to 90% of you, are sending people who come to your profile to your competitors. That's a sin. 49%, almost half of buyers right now are researching you on LinkedIn. So if you don't establish your brand, your profile with your client in mind in the right way, you're leaving a lot of opportunity on the table. Second, you need to publish content. 92% of buyers engage with you if they see you as a thought leader. And the way you do that is by publishing content on LinkedIn. If you're not creating content, this is a key part of the strategy. You're missing a big opportunity. Thirdly, you need to connect with decision makers in your market. There's very specific ways to do that. And fourth, you need to engage. We do classes on all of these. Each of these topics, we do an hour, 2-hour session on each of these. I'm just scratching the surface here so you understand if you've tried LinkedIn and it hasn't worked, this is why you're likely missing out on the opportunity. Or if you haven't ever engaged in LinkedIn, I'm trying to show you why you should. Now, if you're a numbers guy like me, LinkedIn is giving you free eyeballs. Let me try to quantify that. I took the first 6 months of this year. These are my stats. And I removed my top post. I removed the post on LinkedIn that did the best. What I did is I analyzed how much organic free eyeballs, how many free views LinkedIn gave. 964,734 free. Okay. Now, if I were to go to LinkedIn, if I said to somebody on my team, go to LinkedIn and buy that many views for us with their ads product, the average cost per 1,000 is $50 on LinkedIn. Certainly you can spend a lot more than that. Certainly you can spend less. The average is 50. So if you take the average cost per 1,000 views for this amount that we got free, the market value is $48,236.70. That makes sense? Think about how this compounds. If you get your staff to do this, if you get other people on your sales team, if you have 2 people, 3 people, 5 people, 10 people, your partners, all doing this, it compounds, it gets big. Drop me a yes in the chat if you're understanding this opportunity. The social selling framework, these 4 pieces, your profile, publishing content in the right way, connecting with people, and engaging are things that you have to do right now. You have to get on this. Here's why. It has to do with these 2 concepts here, and I alluded to this a little bit earlier. The content saturated platform versus the content deficient platform. This is really important. Let me start with the content saturated platforms. There are platforms, social networks, that have more content than viewers. It's a basic supply and demand principle, right? There's more content than viewers. And these platforms serve your content to only a small portion of your followers because there's so much stuff, right? That means that it's not necessarily easy to get in front of the people that you want to be in front of. Classic examples of this right now happen to be Facebook, Instagram, as an example. They're not great for organic reach. I learned these concepts from Taylor Parker. He was a LinkedIn employee. And when he used these terms, it made so much sense to me. I thought, I got to share it with all of you. So that's a content saturated platform. I'm suggesting that you don't go there, or at least you carefully consider your investment there. On the other hand, there are content deficient platforms. That's where there are more viewers, more eyeballs, more of your customers and prospects than there is content. These platforms, there's not a lot of them, but they're very, very important because that's where the value is at. That's where the arbitrage is at, where you can get in at a very low cost and there's a lot of attention. Examples of that right now, LinkedIn, TikTok, those are good for organic reach. That's what's happening on LinkedIn right now. So that's just a little bit of an insight into why there's such a big opportunity here. I'm not going to go into how the algorithms work and all of that. What you need to know if you're running your business or if you're in sales or if you're in marketing is that on LinkedIn, there simply isn't enough content. So when someone likes or comments on one of your posts, it shares that to a big portion of their network, sometimes to their entire network. So think about how powerful that is. If I'm connected with Phil Hemingway, who's here, right? And he likes my post on LinkedIn. I don't know how many people Phil is connected with. Let's say it's 1,000, right? It'll get shared to potentially all 1,000 of his LinkedIn connections. Multiply that by 10, 20, 30, 40 other people, and you can see how that compounds very quickly. The opportunity that you have, people, is that less than 1%, only the top 1% of people on LinkedIn are actually creating content. That means that it is starving. LinkedIn is literally starving for your content. And when you do this, here's Ira Bowman as an example. When you do these social selling techniques, I pulled this example because I thought it was useful to you in June and July in the height of the pandemic, right? 100% of his sales activity came from social selling. That's how this works. Here's Chavi. I'm not sure if I pronounced her name correctly there. I thought Chavi's example is interesting for you as well. Look what she says. I'm so excited, quaking in my boots. I have a call tomorrow with the kind of potential client I've dreamed about for years, but I never thought I'd have the chance at. Pray for me, right? Any tips for acing calls with high-profile companies also appreciated. And I took a moment here. I said, congrats. How did you land the call? Do you know anyone in common? How well have you studied this person and their company? Look what she says. Surprisingly enough, an executive from the company reached out after I commented on his LinkedIn post. Well, it might be surprising to her, but men and women, those of you who are here now, I'm hoping that now you're seeing a little bit more of the opportunity here. Does that make sense? Give me a yes in the chat if you're following along. Facebook, LinkedIn, Zoom, give me a yes. What I want to do now, Mac, if you don't mind, grab that URL. I want you folks to understand, if you're on LinkedIn, I've had this little icon up here. I want you to understand how LinkedIn sees you right now. There's a little piece of value that I want to give you. Mac is going to drop a URL into the chat. Go to that URL. It's going to give you a number that indicates how LinkedIn views you in the context of how well you're doing these 4 things, okay? I want you to go grab that number, and I want you to come back into the chat, Facebook, LinkedIn, Zoom, drop it in and tell me what your number is, okay? This number gives you a little insight into where you stand in the algorithm's eyes, in the content deficient platform where you have a huge opportunity to get in front of customers and prospects. 77, that's good. 50, 59, 67. The number that we're looking for is the top number there. I think Melissa asked 63, 42, 50, 69, 53, 64, 35, 47, 61. Wow. Scott is asking Mackenzie, what is the way to find that number? Drop the URL in again. There, Mackenzie just dropped it in. 28, says Peter. My friend, you have a huge opportunity in front of you. Matt, 33. What is this number? People are asking, what is this number? It is the amalgamation of how LinkedIn views your success at doing these 4 key things that are part of the social selling framework, okay? So if you want to know kind of how they see you, how well you're doing, or conversely, how big of an opportunity you have, Will says he's got an 8, right? So Will's got a tremendous opportunity in front of him, huge opportunity. All right. Now, Mackenzie, again, instead of going to questions, hold that for just a moment. I know that there's a bunch of questions. Simon is saying 47. Keep those coming in, folks. Here's what I want to know. We've been on this training for about an hour and 5 minutes, maybe just a few more than that since we started a little bit past the hour, right? I want to know this from you. if you think you can follow this process, if you do what I showed you in Secret 1 and you use the social selling framework for yourself or your business and you hijack or understand content that's already working to get you there faster. And if you did what I showed you in Secret 2 and built campaigns using this process to get out in front of your target market, and if you use what I just showed you in 3, really up-leveled your ability to use LinkedIn, the content deficiency of LinkedIn, do you think you could do this? Drop me a yes in the chat if you think you could do this. Matt says yes. Philip says yes. Fred says yes. Edward says yes. Maybe, says Debbie. Okay, good. I want you to be honest. Mark says, I'm not sure. Keep telling me. Keep telling me. Yes, says Peter. Simon says, yes, I see many ways to try. Yes, you can. That's the whole point of this framework, is to just open your eyes to the possibility here. We have a ton of questions. I want to get to all of those. Hang tight. I want to be able to answer every single question that's on your mind. But first, I want to make sure, if you want to learn more and you want to go deeper into what we talked about today, I want to give you some tangible next steps. Okay? Does that sound good? I want to give you some very tangible next steps that you can put into place. First thing I've done, first resource I pulled together here for you. Here's how we can help. I've asked my team to set aside some time blocks in the next week so that we can speak personally about how this process, how this framework, this new way of selling and marketing can help your company, your sales team, so that you can reach and engage the clients and prospects in this modern way. There's a lot of different types of companies here with us today. So there isn't really one size fits all answer that I want to prescribe to you. But I would like to give you that opportunity if you want to talk further. Okay, Mackenzie's going to drop this URL in the chat. There's no obligation here. We're basically giving you free consulting to see if this is something that would be a fit for you and if it could help your business. No cost, of course. So Mackenzie, go ahead and drop that URL into the chat. If you go to mindfiremarketing.com/yes, we've got 4 people on our side who are going to help field those meetings to make sure that we get you the insight that you're looking for. So Mackenzie, if you can drop that into the chat, because we have a small number of people allocated to that, the spaces are limited. We're going to do it kind of on a first come, first serve basis if this is helpful for you. Who's it for? If you're wondering, should I talk further about this? Should I investigate this further? This is for you. If you're, business owner, C-level, leader, manager in your organization, or you're in the sales or marketing department, you're a sales and marketing professional who want to take control of your destiny. If you want to turn things around for you. Now, if you're looking for more free training, free resources and such, we have a ton of that on our website. We can provide that to you. But this call specifically is if you're serious about, this is something that I think we need to do. And if you want to accelerate putting that into practice, we want to talk one-on-one with you. And so on that call, we're going to give you clarity around what is a system or a process that's going to take what we've learned here that hits exactly your specific set of goals. Usually there's 2 or 3 different ways that you can kind of employ this process in your organization. Don't worry about that now. We can talk about that on the call. The bottom line is we want to help you get to where you want to be in the shortest amount of time. Does that make sense? Give me a yes in the chat if you're understanding. I want to be able to help you if you're ready to take the next step, give you permission to turn me down right now. Go to that URL, fill in the little form there. We'll follow up with you ASAP and see if we can help. And so if you've been inspired by what we've talked about today, I appreciate all the questions. I'm going to get to all of those just in a second. I really want to tell you that you've got 2 options from this point forward, right? If your head is spinning with all of this, option 1 is you could do nothing and you could miss this opportunity to get some help, to speak to our team. Option 2, for those of you who are serious, I know you've been here a little over an hour now, schedule that session. Take charge of the situation. Think of it just as, you know what, Dave, I'm not sure if this is going to work for me. I'm not sure if this is going to work for our organization, but I want to find out. I want to see. So if you want to improve your leads for whether you're a commercial print company, agency, B2B, B2C, whether you run the company, own the company, work for the company, let's talk and see if it's something you should consider. Now, some of you I know think that, well, this isn't for me because I don't have any content to push out. I don't have any data. I don't have any names, new names. I'm not technical, or I'm not a marketer. I don't want to be salesy in how I come off when I'm creating this content, or our company's too small, our company's too big. It's okay. That's why we offer a variety of different solutions. We'll tell you, maybe there's a self-serve way that you can get up and running. Maybe you can leverage technology to help you get there faster. Not every solution is for everyone. So we want to talk that through with you and allay those concerns to help you understand what would work for your business. So I see someone asking what the URL is. Again, Mac, if you could just drop that in, mindfiremarketing.com/yes. You'll see a little form there that gives you an opportunity to enter your information. And then we will follow up with you to help you take the next step there and see if this is a fit for you. One more thing here before I go to all the questions. I want you to consider why what I've talked to you about today is more important than ever. Why you need to do this now. Virtual selling, whether we like it or not, is here to stay. LinkedIn just did a recent survey in their state of sales, 500 sales professionals. 80% said they have somewhat or completely shifted to virtual selling because of COVID-19. And of those respondents who said they shifted to virtual selling, 57% believe the new social selling model is better than the traditional approach. And 46%, almost half, expect to continue doing this beyond 12 months. So I argue to you, you should consider that a sales model, a marketing model that embraces this reality isn't just a nice thing to have, okay? It's imperative. If you act now, the companies that take advantage of this, you'll have a significant competitive opportunity. If you don't, you run the risk of being left behind. I think that you also have to remember that the pandemic, and I know you all know this, but the pandemic has accelerated this. It's only amplified the fact that buyers are now in control, and there's this growing divide between you and your customer and your prospect, right? I heard many of you say, I can't reach them. I can't engage them. When COVID-19 started, the data show that folks like you, sellers, increased outbound email communication by 59%. Yet on the other end, your customers, the buyers, decreased their response to that 25 to 30% compared to before COVID. So if the current sales model, I shouldn't even say current, if that sales model wasn't working before the pandemic, this new virtual environment that we're in now has made it completely unsustainable. And that's why this moment calls for a new form of engagement, a new form of social selling. Okay. And so if you want to talk more about that, like I said, here's the link, mindfiremarketing.com/yes. What I want to do now, Mackenzie, I'm going to bring you on, if you don't mind coming on video. Let's take a couple of questions here and let's get everything answered for the faithful.
Yes. So we have a few, but Mark just asked right now, can you repeat the statistic that you just said? I'm not, do you know which one he's talking about?
Yeah. Which one did I say? Maybe around, Mark, the increase in outreach that companies have done. Was that the one, Mark? Let me know if that's the one. I'm happy to repeat that.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So at the onset of COVID-19, the research shows that sellers increased their email outreach by 59%. They did 59% more outbound engagement through email. Yet the buyer, on the other end, the recipient, decreased their response by 25 to 30% compared to pre-COVID benchmarks. So we'll send this out to you afterwards if you want that. But yeah, fascinating stat. All right, Mac, what's next?
Okay, I'm just going to run through a bunch of questions that we had. So first of all, one of the ones was around when you show DaVinci and how you can create campaigns. A few people said, hey, I'm not technical or computer savvy. Is this going to work for me, or is it going to be over my head?
Interesting. Yeah, so the way we've created that technology works for both people who are technically proficient as well as those who feel that they're not. Let me describe what I mean by there. So let's say I'm technically proficient, right? I prefer, however, solutions that even if I'm technically proficient, keep me within guardrails that help me get to where I want to be and keep me from making mistakes. That's what we've built into that software. Now, if you feel you don't have the technical skills, we invest heavily in training, like what you're seeing right now. And for our members, for our clients, there's training, there's support. And there's all sorts of things that we do to help folks get where they want to be. In fact, Mac, you asked me to prepare a couple of slides. If people are interested, I can certainly bring that up. But that's how I would answer that. Mackenzie, how do you typically answer that when somebody asks you about that?
Yeah, so I kind of say the same thing. We've been doing this since '99, right? So we've dealt with a lot of different people who are different technical skills and levels. And so our goal as an organization is to make technology and products that meet you where you are. So if you are an advanced technical user, such as Dave, I'd call you an advanced technical user. Our technology gives you the ability to do that. But at the same time, if you are not an advanced technical user and you feel like, okay, I'm not, this isn't something that I do all the time, I'm not very computer savvy. Again, we've crafted technology that meets you where you are. So it's a very guided experience. It steps you through. Really, I have never encountered one person across all the years that we've been doing this that we weren't able to train with our objective-driven technology. So really, it's there to meet you where you are, and we have technologies that will do that. So I think you'll be fine.
So everyone, keep those questions coming in. And Mac, I hope you've been able to kind of pull all the ones that I wasn't able to get during the meat of the presentation. I see somebody here, and if you don't mind, Mac, as you're pulling those together, I'm just going to jump ahead a few slides here. I want to show two things that I think also might be helpful to everybody. I see somebody asking, what is next week's session going to be? Next week, if you look at the screen, we're going to do a session, but only for members of Mindfire. So if you're on the line right now and you're a client, if you've been working with Mindfire, this is for you. Or if you decide to come aboard in the next week or so, what we're going to do is we're going to help you. If you look over here, this is the LinkedIn profile that I've referenced a few times in the training today. We're going to help you in a private session, small group session, learn how to create a magnetic profile to attract the right people to you. Take what we're talking about today and go a little bit deeper. And I'll actually be pulling some of your profiles and giving you individualized suggestions so that all of you can learn. There's 15 things, folks, that you got to consider. You must do. I'm also going to show you how to keep from sending your viewers, people looking at you, to competitors. 90% of you are making this mistake right now. You're leaking traffic, viewers, to your competition. And I'll also give you a checklist to ensure that everything that you need, all the vital issues are covered. So if you're a Mindfire client, drop the phrase private session inside the chat if you want us to sign you up for that next week. Just drop private session, drop that in the chat if you're a Mindfire member, and we'll get you signed up for that. Mac, if you can, are you pulling those questions? Okay, yes. I see you nodding. Let me do a few other things here because I see people asking what else can we do to help them. By the way, I threw that URL back up on the screen, Mackenzie, the mindfiremarketing.com/yes. Mackenzie asked or suggested that, for many of you, revenue recovery is something that's really important to all of you. And so she wanted me to make sure to tie everything that we're talking about back to how we can help you recover revenue. And so in case you're new to the Mindfire family, there's a variety of ways that we can help you do that. I mentioned this already. Incredible software, right? Mackenzie used the word objective driven. We have software that helps you get to what you want to do in your market, be able to achieve what you want to do by picking an objective from within the software, and then it guides you to do that. We call those blueprints, okay? It's like a recipe for getting it done. And you can create all sorts of different campaigns to drive traffic, to capture leads. There's reporting and statistics. There's even a CRM built into the system. So as people are engaging with your social selling activities, you're able to track that inside of the software, okay? So folks who use Mindfire, that means you don't need to have any other landing page software, email autoresponders, expensive marketing automation. The programming and designing aspects are also handled inside of the software. So if any of that sounds useful to you, again, mindfiremarketing.com/yes. That's one thing we can do to help. The other, so if you want to go deeper into training, Mackenzie, are you still here with me? Yeah? I'm going to talk about this training real quick. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, let's do it.
So we have a 6-week training called the Opti-Channel Secrets Training. And this is kind of the cornerstone training that takes everything that we've talked about today and goes deeper. In this 6-week course, you'll learn how to find engaging content and use it yourself. how to distribute that content through these different social channels that are right for you and your company to create leads. We'll build on the social selling framework that requires and mandates that your profile on LinkedIn be set up correctly. So we're going to help you do that as well. If you've never engaged in creating content on LinkedIn, there's actually some very specific ways you can do that will help you achieve your objectives. We'll show you that in week 4. We'll show you how to get people to actually act on the content that you're putting out there. And then we have this concept of an omni-channel custom audience that's just a mind-blowing way to start to create a halo effect around all of the people that you're engaging in social. And this training is really helpful. Like I said a moment ago, 81% of buyers are more likely to engage with you if you have a strong professional brand. And that's one of the things that we help you do through the training. Also, to build on the LinkedIn stuff, as a sales professional, if you view the profile of at least 10 people at each of the accounts that you're trying to break into, you're 69% more likely to exceed quota. It's going to seem just like clicking. It's credible, right? I see Mac shaking her head. We'll show you how to do that. Also, we'll show you where some of these leads are hanging out on the web in places that we haven't talked about today. In fact, one of those is LinkedIn groups. I'll give that to you for free here. You're 70% more likely to get an appointment or an unexpected sale if you're a member of a LinkedIn group, but you got to know what you're doing once you get in that group. Reps that exceed quota get 74% more engagement on their posts. So, you need to learn how to do these things in order to be able to get the results that you're looking for. That's what this training's about. Mike is an example here. We helped him post his first article on LinkedIn, helped him reestablish contacts with people that he had lost touch with. Dave is actually here on the call, I think, today, right? Dave used some of these techniques, and he says we started using it this weekend. So far, we probably have 20 orders come through as a result of our lead campaign. So just showing you some examples of folks that this works for, whether you're a printer, you're an agency, you're B2B, you're in marketing, you're in sales. Anybody who has a message, who wants to get out there and start spreading that message, this will help you. Mac, I'm going to pause there. What questions do we have?
Yep. So we have a few. So one is, this one goes back a little bit, but I thought it was a great question to ask live. What happens to lead information? Is it stored in DaVinci? So this person, Jessica, was asking this, Jessica A, when you talked about putting the landing pages to capture leads on social media. So let's say someone does go and fill out that comment or that contact form. What happens to those leads?
Yeah. So those leads, great question. Who asked that, Mackenzie?
Jessica A.
Jessica A. Okay, yeah. So Jessica, if you're still here, those get stored in that CRM. In the case of if you're using Mindfire software that I just showed you, inside of your Mindfire software. If you're not using Mindfire software, if you're gluing this together on your own, you would need to find somewhere to store that information. But if you're using technology like what we're showing you here today, it's all stored inside of Mindfire. Great question, folks.
Perfect.
Keep those questions coming. Yeah. What was that?
So someone asked, is all of this in DaVinci, not meaning you don't need Sniply or BuzzSumo separately, or do we need them separately?
So BuzzSumo and Sniply that I showed you, certainly you can go out and get those on your own individually. But if you use Mindfire, or if you're using DaVinci like you saw here on the screen, or you acquire it, that is all built in. So behind the scenes, we have integrated to make that even easier and absorb the cost of that when you use the software. So it's all built in.
Awesome. A few people asked this. I think you addressed it afterwards, but just to reiterate, people said, I don't have as big of a network like you on LinkedIn. Will it work for me still? And I think you addressed this by saying, like, as an example, let's say I like your post, then it shows it to all my people. So just wanted you to go over that as well.
Yeah. So, and actually, you're an example that I sometimes use, Mackenzie, right? You had a post with, I think you had around 800 or so followers at the time. But when you posted that, because of what we're talking about here, the content deficiency aspect of LinkedIn and how the LinkedIn algorithm works right now, folks, even if you only have a few hundred people that you're connected to, they will show that content to more and more people if you know what you're doing. And so in your case, Mackenzie, where did you end up? 80,000, 90,000 views?
I think it was 85,000.
Yeah. So you don't have to have a big network to make this work. Stuart, you're welcome. Thank you. Have a good night there in the UK. Thanks for attending, Stuart. I hope this gave you value. I hope you got something out of it. Appreciate you being here. So Mackenzie, let me show one more thing to everybody. I know that some
Let's do it.
folks, you asked the question about whether or not, what if I don't have resources to do this? So one thing that I think might be useful for some of you to know is if you're thinking about how do I do this, can Mindfire actually help me run these kinds of campaigns? We have done with you and done for you campaign launch services where we help you, first of all, get crystal clear on what it is you're trying to do. We help you pick the right omni-channel workflow to get there. If you want to deploy that work, then we give you the steps to do it. We hold you accountable to getting that done. And then we can help you review that, revise that, and repeat that. That's if you want us to do it with you, kind of hold your hand through the process. Others come to us and say, hey, you just do it for me. Mindfire, do everything for me. So here's an example of Michael at River City Print and Imaging, talking about how our staff has helped kind of hold their hand through that process. Dave Buck, who was here earlier, another little shout out from him around how he launched a campaign like this, added 3 new clients. One of them manages 7 courses, just landed that this morning. Our salesperson was so excited to head into his vacation with a great close. So another great thing. And then one more here, Mackenzie, since you asked about, I think you asked about content. If you're the folks that are here, who's in the print market? Drop the word print if you're in the print market. So that could be you sell direct mail, postcards, you sell communication services to your clients. Okay, I still see a bunch here. So one of the things that we do, you remember this ebook that I showed you? There's a couple others on here that I haven't described. We can also make what we call content packs available to you. So inside your software, what we would do is install an entire end-to-end campaign. So that means not only the ebook itself, you get to use that, but also all the emails, the landing page, the thank you nurture sequence is already 80% done. You just customize it the last 20% for your business. That makes sense? So we can provide you this 3 ways to connect direct mail with Facebook. Remember, I told you this one cost us $25,000 to create. You can get that and actually leverage that for your own business. So that's one that we can provide you. The other here is this one's called Still Relevant, a look at how millennials respond to direct mail. Again, if you sell direct mail or if you want to convince your clients to do more direct mail, this is a campaign that includes a fantastic study done with USPS, all the emails, the landing pages, the thank you nurture sequence, all of that ready to go. So we have a variety of content packs like that, print sample request campaigns where you can start to engage your customers and provide them with new use cases. We have food and beverage, travel and hospitality, education, different verticals that you can pick from. And then Mackenzie, you had asked if they need to go out and get BuzzSumo. Again, that's built in here in the My Market section of the software. All right. So you have all of that there. What other questions do you have, Mackenzie?
Just sifting through them now. We have a lot of them. Let's see. Okie doke. Do you guys help teach us the strategies we need to know within LinkedIn to be able to be effective?
Yes, we do. So that's part of the 6-week Omni-Channel Secrets training. We help you understand that piece by piece if that's something that you decide to move forward with. Again, if you're interested in finding out more, mindfiremarketing.com/yes. Mackenzie, do you know who asked that question specifically?
It looks like Sarah M.
Sarah, if you're still here, let me know if I answered your question. If you have more questions, happy to answer. Absolutely happy to answer. So I'm going to call out a few names as you're looking for Andrew's got one here. Is using voicemail dead or effective to still use as part of the mix? Andrew, so one of the channels that we didn't talk about is actually in the software, and we see a lot of customers doing this, is ringless voicemail. Mackenzie, I think you're nodding your head because you see this often, some of the customers you work with. So no, certainly not dead. We see it in a variety of verticals where ringless voicemail is being used. We also have, actually, we had it in the last week's example. We had a little demo site set up for you where you could actually go and experience what a voice call would look like in an omni-channel setting. So definitely not dead, still effective to use. Andrew, what vertical do you focus on, or what use case are you thinking? Jeff says, thank you all. Need to take off, but really appreciate the opportunity to learn about this. Jeff, thank you for being here and entrusting us with your time. I hope we've delivered you value. Please let me know there in the chat if you got value out of this. Andrew says, do you ever get negative reaction from ringless? Mackenzie, I'll ask you. You're a little bit closer to some of those customers. I know that sometimes, like we did at one time, right? I remember.
Yeah, so to answer that, I really believe that the actual message that you send is hugely impactful on people's reactions. So what I mean by that is typically what we have found, if the message sounds marketing-y, like really kind of like it's polished, then people feel like, oh, this is a mass voicemail and I don't like that. But what we have found is if we use my voice or Dave's voice or someone's voice where you literally just record it off off the cusp, and it's just natural, it doesn't have maybe it has you slipping up on your words or whatever it is, that people typically are positively receiving it. So in terms of negative positive, I think that the message that you use is really important. Make sure it's natural. Try to shy away from, within the first second of the call, them thinking like this is a mass voicemail. If you do that, typically they receive it well. And honestly, when we've used it, most people think it's 100% one-to-one and they call back. I know, because I've used my phone number.
Yeah.
So I can tell you for sure. And yeah, typically when you respond or when you create it, what I would do is just pick up the phone as if you're doing it one time and then use that one instead of trying to doctor it up and make it sound really beautiful or something like that.
Yep. Yep. Andrew,
Thanks,
actually,
Andrew.
were you here last week, Andrew, with Mike Robinson over at Summit Direct Mail? If you were here, Andrew, he actually, through their organization, they do a lot of ringless voicemail, and be happy to connect you with him if you have questions. Yes. Okay. You're friends with those guys. Okay, good. Good. Awesome. So Brett here is asking, gosh, so many questions coming in. How much is the 6-week course, or when you're a client, you get it included? Mackenzie?
Yeah, so the 6-week course comes when you sign up as a client. Actually, I will be completely transparent with you, since Dave's been honest with you here. This was something that we really debated internally, because to be honest with you, lots of external corporations basically come to us just to do the training for them. So they're spending tens of thousands of dollars on these training sessions. But Dave and I and others at our organization really believe in the power of it. And we know that if we just give you technology without coupling that with the how to do it, how to implement, what to do, where you're not going to be as successful as you could. And at Mindfire, our number one concern is your success. So yes, it does come with the technology. This has been a big debate, but yes, it comes included, and we can see it starting to pay off, kind of like Dave showed some of those quotes from people. We just believe that if you learn how to do it, you get this foundational strategy and tactics, and then we give you the technology to implement it, that coupled together, it drives your success. So yes, it's included.
Brett, did you grab one of those spots to talk one-on-one? If not, we'd love to talk to you more about that.
The team is meeting with him on Thursday. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Cool. Let me see. I'm going to try to go from the top here. Is Mindfire basically a marketing service with related technology? So, Mark, we do 3 things. We have a communication platform for omni-channel communication. We offer services, and we offer training. So everything is predicated on this whole concept of omni-channel, helping you engage your customers and your prospects where they're hanging out right now. So we have software that helps you do that on your own. For some organizations, they choose to have us run everything. That's where our services comes into play. We have an agency in-house that specializes in omni-channel communication. So we run campaigns, we run programs for customers. And then third, Mackenzie just alluded to this, organizations like HP, as an example, pay us significant bounty, if you will, to come in and train their customers, their vendors, their partners to embrace this new kind of social selling and marketing. So those are the 3 things that we do. Hopefully that answered the question.
So
yeah,
I see a question, and I'm going to go a little rogue on you, if that's okay.
Go rogue, baby.
So Mark, I think Mark S, I was almost going to say your last name. Mark S asks, are the content packs, I think that's the 5 to end-to-end campaigns, and the holiday, are they included, or are they additional services? And here's where I'm going to go rogue. So Mark, based on your answer, I'm going to tell you right now that for anyone on this webinar, we will include these for free. And so, I'm not just blowing smoke. You can go to our website, check our prices, and know that if you add those content packages up, they are extra on top of license. And it's, I think, $1,400, $1,500 extra. So I'm telling you, if you are on this webinar, we're happy to extend them for you for free. I have to think of a special code word so that I can know you were here. Let's do Halloween. So the code word will be Halloween. If you use the word Halloween on a call with any of our team members, we will include those 2 packages, the 5 quick starts and the My Markets Unlimited, and the holiday ones as well for free. So
wow. Thank you, Mac.
Yeah.
No problem going rogue when you're delivering value. I appreciate that. Mark says, David, it is said knowledge is power. I say sharing knowledge is power. Wow, that's powerful. It multiplies the knowledge and it helps. Yeah, it helps people too. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Love that. Michael H says, I'll do the one-on-one. I just signed up for the trial. Okay, thank you, Michael. Brett says, do we need another phone number for the ringless voicemail, or can I use my existing number? Mackenzie, do you recall how you did it? What technique did you use?
I think I used my own. Oh, I think I used my own. Yeah, because people
are calling you back, right? I recall that you used your own. Yeah, it could go either way, but I think in your case, you used your own. Yeah, and certainly with our customers, we see a variety of use cases. I mean, just a whole number of different things.
One cool thing that, can I just elaborate on that really quick for you,
yes,
Brett?
You may,
one cool thing that I like about ringless voicemail is that it allows you to scale something that takes a lot of time. So let me just give you one tangible example. Let's say you are sending a direct mail to 5,000 people, or you're running an email campaign, or you're even having a webinar or something like here. Well, you might want to call all the people to confirm that they're coming, or let them know that, hey, we're just to confirm that you got your session this morning. Or you might want to call them and say, hey, guess what? Check your mail. You've got something there. You know, whatever it is. To make all those calls one by one, it just takes too much time and resources. So I love ringless voicemail for giving the ability to scale something that typically would take a lot of time.
I see a question from Warren, and I'll just pull up those slides to answer your question, Warren. So if any of you are here that fall into Warren's bucket, I hope this is helpful to you. He's saying, is your software resellable to customers? For example, can we create these leads for our customers within our own platform, or is the solution only for us? Clients come to us for marketing solutions. So didn't mention this yet, Warren, but great segue. We have what we call the program Fast Launch, partner program Fast Launch. And what that is specifically for organizations like yours. So agencies, marketing services companies, even commercial printers, folks who want to add value in the marketing process that they deliver to their customers. We provide you a couple of things to do what you're talking about. First of all, most of you need a demo site to be able to engage and excite your customers, right? And so we give you a demo site where you can start to give them a taste using a variety of channels, email, direct mail, voice, SMS, and more, to be able to understand what this would do for them. So it comes with a demo site that you can brand. It has our information up here just for this little snapshot, but you can change it, put your own brand in there, Warren. That's the first thing. Second, inside of the software, if you sign up as a partner who wants to offer this to your customers, you have the ability to create what are called sub-accounts. So I don't know if you can see that here on the screen, right? A sub-account is basically a container for each of your customers. So you have one for yourself, for your own marketing, but you can also launch these sub-accounts, one for each of your customers, okay? And so when you offer OptiChannel as a service to your customer, you can charge them for campaign creation, management. You can charge them a subscription to access, the software. However you want to do it, that's up to you. You can create an annuity that's paying you over the long term now to be able to provide that to your customers. So Warren, did I answer your question there? Let me know if I answered your question. Last week, we actually had one of our, I always leave my beautiful drawings there on the screen. Let me move that. Last week we had Mike Robinson and John Barber over at Summit. They're doing what you're describing there, Warren. Great case study. Mackenzie has worked closely with Bob here. He's a smaller organization that has been able to take his service offering, and because of the equipping that Mackenzie and her team and our staff have done, he's saying, look, we're going to have some fun, do some good business. I feel armed and dangerous now, thanks to you. And he's talking about how
kicking butt. Yeah, I can tell you that.
He's kicking
for sure.
butt. Yeah. They're using texting, which is opening up a lot of doors. SMS, a channel that's optimal for many. And look at this, what he says here. This always tickles me here. I'm amazed that more clients on all levels are not using it more. Probably because a lot of old school mentality is still out there. So Warren, it sounds like you're not of the old school mentality. But that gives you a little insight. Hopefully that helps. Warren, are you still here? Does that answer your question? Warren, if you have any other questions about that, please let us know. Okay,
The other
awesome.
thing I just want to note, typically people,
Yeah.
can I just interrupt real quick? So typically people say, A, can we sell this? And then we go over, and then they say, well, B, is it cost effective? So just want to give you a little bit of background. We have tons of clients throughout all different industries. Like Dave started, we have agencies, printers, marketing service providers, B2B and B2C organizations. Now, one thing I want to say though is since 1999, when we've been around, we have largely served service providers. So we have a huge amount of service, or this huge amount, I think. Anyways, we have many service providers who work with us. So what we do is we discount our costs for volumes significantly so that service providers can mark them up, still be cost competitive given the industry, and be able to make money. So yes, absolutely. We leave you plenty enough wiggle room to be able to mark it up, still be competitive for your clients, and be able to make that money.
So if that is something of interest, Warren, did you sign up to talk one-on-one about that? We'd love to talk to you more about that. The URL is there on the screen, mindfiremarketing.com/yes. Love to talk to you more in detail about that, Warren, if that's helpful to you. Fred, who's actually a client, good friend. Fred and I have been on a boat together and worn pirate hats. If you want to know that story, ask Fred. Fred is saying, Mackenzie's shaking her head. Fred is saying ringless voicemail in Florida is not allowed, just an FYI. Thank you, Fred. Good reminder. Looks like you answered Brett. Huh? Okay. Looks like you answered Brett's question about the video sales letter, VSL. Yeah, you can put a video on your landing page. How many landing pages can I create for the starter? I think, did Brett respond to you? The starter package?
He just said, yeah.
Okay. Did you answer his question?
I didn't yet. I was just about to type, but I was talking.
Okay.
So do you want to answer it live or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So as you all know, we have a few different packages. We've got starter, professional, and enterprise. And really you choose the package depending on the features and functions that make most sense to your business, as well as the support level. So the biggest differentiators are, do you want phone support? Do you want a live orientation? Do you want hand holding? Do you want to be able to interact? If the answer is yes, then you're going to definitely want to choose the professional plan or higher. The starter plan, you can create as many landing pages as you want. So we do not put any limits on the amount of landing pages that you create. So that's that. The difference though, however, like I said, is with the starter package, that's really great for individual, let's say a sales rep or someone who is an individual that just really wants to implement campaigns for their own self. If you are going to, for me, I will always sign up for support because I can guarantee you I will reach out to support. So if support is something that's important to you, I would opt for the professional level. If support is not important to you, then that's where you can go with the starter. But on all the levels, no cap on quantities for landing pages.
Awesome. Warren says, thank you for the answer. Completely helped. We use Mindfire Studio. Would we need both, or is DaVinci a complete solution as it has the landing pages, emails, and even the social selling? So it's a great question, Warren. We didn't go into the geeky details. Let me grab my pen here. I'm going to try to draw under this little thing right here. So the Mindfire platform, if you imagine this as the platform down here, this little beautiful rectangle that I've drawn here, has Mindfire Studio that you already have. And that's one way of interacting and creating these omni-channel campaigns. And then it has what you're calling DaVinci right now, which also sits on top of the same platform. So under the hood, technology is all the same. You can do the same things here that you can in DaVinci, but DaVinci has the added benefit of the social selling and marketing components and features that you need to be able to do a lot of what we've talked about today. So we'd have to talk more one-on-one about your particular situation, but I don't know that necessarily one would replace the other in your use case. But again, in the call, we could figure that out for you. Fred is saying, are you sending this recording out for future play? Yes, Fred, absolutely. Happy to. Always, typically later today. It takes a little while for it to render and our team to finish it up, but you should get that. Mackenzie, what else do you see here? We're going to stick around till all the questions are answered.
Any other questions? Let's see.
Tyler, Tom, Tim, Thomas, Taylor, Steve, Sheila, Scott, Andy, Rod, Richard, Rachel. Mike is here. A couple Mikes, actually. Michael, Awesome. Melissa's here. Warren says, thanks again. I'll set up a time for the one-on-one when I'm back in the office. Okay, Warren, sounds great. No problem. Martin A is here. Okay, cool. Like that. Lisa is here. Hey, Lisa, I saw your name there and I used you in a little demo there. Hope that was okay.
Yes. So another question is there an API with Zoho CRM?
So that's a good question. So the platform can integrate with Zapier. And then if you're familiar with Zapier, you know it's a point and click solution for then connecting to probably about 1,000 other applications, and Zoho is one of those. So Mindfire to Zapier, and then Zapier can fan out to any number of applications, and it's like $20 a month, right, Mackenzie? It's not that much.
And it's the best.
Yep. Zapier makes you happier.
Yeah.
Brett says, is DaVinci also CRM? Yeah, there is a CRM inside of the application. I will go back to that slide real quick. Nope, wrong way, Dave. Yeah, you can track your engagement with folks as they come into the system. I think I have a little snapshot here of it. So as your leads are being created, as you're engaging with people, you have the ability to take notes, keep track of that opportunity, set reminders, track the activity that's happening on that lead, et cetera. So yes, you can use it for that. I don't know if you already have a CRM. It's certainly not going to replace Salesforce.com as an example. But for many, many use cases, what's there is perfectly fine for most. Andrew says, got to run. Awesome. You got it. I've been looking for the Zap. How do I find the connection in Zapier? So what you do, Warren, is from the Mindfire side, you use a webhook. So on the Zapier side, look for the receiving webhook. What's it called? I forget what it's called, but there's a webhook that receives a payload. That's what you would look for on the Zapier side. I think if you just type webhook, it'll pop up. So Zapier webhook. On the Mindfire side, you're just shooting over a payload to that webhook. Let me know if that makes sense. Rachel says, thank you. Lots of great info as always. Awesome. Okay, Joanne, you got to run. No problem. Thank you, Joanne. Again, thanks to Joanne Gore. You get the guide that we talked about at the beginning, all of those of you who stayed to the end. So thank you, Joanne, for that. We appreciate your time and energy and putting that together and making it available to everyone for free.
And she also actually chatted this, and I asked her if we could share it live. She said it was okay.
Okay.
100%, somewhere in the session you were talking about, I don't remember who it was, but someone was saying, hey, 3 of their sales or some percentage of their sales came from these social selling tactics. Joanne actually said 100% of her new business sales are coming from implementing these social selling strategies. So
wow, seriously?
Yeah, mind blowing.
Wow, so cool. Bill, thank you. Bill, before you leave, what stood out to you today? If you have to leave, folks, let us know in the chat. One of my classic questions that helps us understand how well we did for you. I'd love to know what were the 1 or 2 things that jumped out to you? What were the ahas that you had, Bill? And for the rest of you as well, if you could drop that in the chat, that's really helpful. Fred is saying, do we all have Sniply in our account? Fred, if you don't, let us know. We can activate that for you.
And just so you know, it's under the My Markets tab. So when you open it up on the left-hand side, you're going to see a section that says a tab that says My Markets. Go there. Like we said, we built it directly in the product, so you don't need to pay for additional services to use it within DaVinci. Also, the thing that I think that's even better than the fact that we've got the BuzzSumo and the Sniply in there is that there's a little button where you can launch a campaign with it, as Dave showed. So not only do you have the article and you have the call to action, but literally with a click of a button, you can launch an email campaign driving traffic to that, which is amazing. So cool. It really makes your life a lot easier.
I see David just signed up for time to talk one-on-one. That's awesome. There's probably a bunch of, there's a lot here that have come in. Thank you all for doing that. Mark is saying, appreciate that there's automation and service to help me with my obstacles of developing and posting content. Mark, that's wonderful. Glad you heard that. Mecky saying, thanks, Mac. I know you are talking. I'll reach out to Jess. Got to go get to a meeting. Mecky, it's good to see your name again. That's awesome. Michael saying, you came forward with solutions on how your product works. You have been describing the issues I have had using a lead generator uplead. Michael, I'm glad to hear that. Leon says, thank you. You've got to go. Bill says, what stood out is the overall capabilities of the software, coordinating all of the components of omnichannel social marketing. Great. Fred, peace out, my friend. Have a good rest of the day. I see you're going. Brett says I have to get going. I have a 2 p.m. meeting. I look forward to being on the call with your team tomorrow. Have a wonderful day, David and Mac. Already calling you Mac.
Everyone.
Good. Yeah, everyone calls you Mac now. Awesome. Lisa says, I have to run. Thank you. Another great session. Lisa, I hope this was valuable to you. I hope that you learned something from it and that it's left you inspired and ready to take on new challenges. Sheila says, you guys are awesome. Thank you. Sheila, you're awesome.
You know what?
You're
I feel like
awesome.
I'm really benefiting here because you spend an hour doing this great, or hour and a half doing this great session. I hop on for the last 5 minutes and I get credit for being awesome. You get all the credit.
Totally fine with me. Totally fine. You're the closer. David says, as always, great presentation. Need to get back in the groove. David, absolutely. Let us help you get back in the groove. I know it's tough, but you got to do it. Jay says, I appreciate the advice about siphoning and snippling. I got to run to another Zoom call. Thank you. Jay, thank you. Really appreciate you being here. Mark says, I thought you were referring to McKinsey Consulting, not your personal consultant, Mac. Michael says, y'all are both awesome. Thank you, Michael. Tyler says, looking forward to using this. Tyler, is that someone you work with, McKinsey?
No.
Tyler L there? Okay. Soon enough?
Yep, soon enough.
Awesome. All right. Well, there's not too many here. There's still like 50, 60 people, but I appreciate you all sticking around. If you have any other questions, I promised you I wouldn't leave. Oh, that's right. That's right. I know Tyler. I emailed with him last night. Yeah, you're the one that Mike
Tyler,
wants to
that's
keep.
how you know it's legit.
Yeah, you're the one Mike wants to keep in the basement, right, Tyler? Big Mike, are you still here? Just giving you a hard time, Mike. Love Mike. I've had some great times with him. A lot of fun adventures. Tyler, can't wait to meet you as well.
By the way,
I think wait, just to clarify for Tyler, I think he means that Mike is with him, right? Tyler, you're going to take over. That's for Tyler. Go ahead, McKinsey.
I do see a lot of you still here. And one of the questions that I have is, do you as an individual or your organization run webinars like this one here to bring value to your prospects and customers? Answer in the chat, yes or no. Do you run webinars like this to deliver value to your customers and prospects? If
interesting
not,
question.
And if you want to do that, that's also something that we can help you do. Within our technology, as we talked about, there's some guided experience to help you quickly create campaigns, and running webinar sequences to drive registration is one of them. If you are hungry for leads and sales and you want to deliver content in a way where your customers view you as a knowledge source, webinars are a great way to do it. Obviously, all of you are here with us, and we hope that we've been able to deliver value today. So if you feel like, hey, I got some value out of this, what better way to pass it on than to share value with your customers and prospects in this way? So if you have any questions about that, we're also happy to answer those.
Yeah, and we co-produce webinars for clients and others. So as an example, if you say, hey, this is information that would be useful to my audience, to my tribe, to my customers, my prospects, drop us a note there. Go to mindfiremarketing.com/yes. What's that?
I was thinking someone said, hey, can we sell this, to our customers? And we talked about
Warren.
our different. Yeah, Warren.
Yeah.
Yes. So Warren, if you are still here, which I believe you are, hypothetically speaking, if you said, you know what, this content that you created today is actually really valuable to my customers, and it might end up driving, hopefully, business for you, Warren, we can co-produce a similar webinar hosted by you to all your audience, driving traffic to you, so that you can share this information with your audience, and then hopefully it can drive leads and sales for your business. So that's definitely something you might want to consider.
Yep. So mindfiremarketing.com/yes, if any of this is resonating with you and you want to talk further.
What other questions do you have? Anyone?
I got an email from Mark, said, great session, David. I'm very impressed with your email, caught my attention. Since I have been thinking of how to engage better with LinkedIn. McKinsey is also awesome. I added that part for you, McKinsey. Charlene, did you get Charlene's question over in Q&A? I know this is your first rodeo, so okay, you did. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Very cool. All right. I'm going to call some friends out here. You either fell asleep or you're just waiting for the next brilliant insight from McKinsey. I want to see what other questions you have. Alana, Courtney, David, a couple Davids, Gina, Glenn, James, couple James, Jim, KY is here. Kamisha is here. Kristen. Let's see. I see a bunch of you still here. I'm going to go from the bottom. Tom, LaFada is here. Tim, Thomas, Taylor, Scott, Sandy. What other questions do you have? Warren says, I like the ideas. I've submitted the form. We will chat some more. Wonderful.
Love it.
We're here for you folks. As I promised, we will answer all your questions. Do you have any other questions about any of the things that we trained on today? I know that selling is very tough right now. So if I can encourage any of you in this endeavor, if you have any questions about what's the next step, what's the first step I should take here, let us know. Mark says, well said. I actually typed that about Mac, but it was cut off. Thank you for a great session. I suffer from FOMO, so I'll probably hang and work until you turn off. FOMO, one of the great motivators.
Yep. Well, I mean, they did get the Halloween offer that I candidly made up. So if I was Mark, I'd probably do the same thing.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. Michael K, Michael J, Michael H, you're here. Melissa, Matt, Martin, Mark.
David times 10.
Yeah, bunch of Davids. There's always a bunch of Davids. What other questions do you have, men and women? Any other questions? James says, as a current customer, can we revisit the 6-week training course of refresher when you do it again? Absolutely, James. If that would be useful to you, James, do you mind just going to this form here, mindfiremarketing.com/yes, so that we do not drop the ball on you there, and we'll make sure that you get invited to the next one. Jessica on our team can facilitate that.
I noted it as well, James. We got you.
Tyler says, thanks again. Definitely see y'all next time. Awesome. Michael says, great 2 hours.
Yeah, and also James brings up an important thing that maybe we can address here. So when do we do it again? So first of all, one of the best things that most people say that they like from the training sessions, 6 weeks, is that you actually get to go through it live with a cohort of other people just like you. The reason that's helpful is that you can all share ideas. You can help juice other people's posts, which we'll talk about what that means. And you can collaborate on just sharing ideas so that you can make sure you do this together. So the 6-week session it's not like we just send you 6 recordings and you go watch it off on your own. It's week by week. Sequentially, you learn new things that build upon the previous week's teachings. So that will start the week of November 8th. So I think it's November. I don't want to botch the date. Is it November 12th, Dave? But it's that. It's okay.
Second week of November, I believe, correct?
Yeah, it's the second week of November.
Okay.
And it is going to be live, going through together with a cohort. So if you want to get involved in that training, you do not want to miss that out, because we don't just send you the recording, and you are part of a cohort. So you want to get in on this one that's coming up shortly.
I see a great question from Kamisha, which we didn't even touch on. It shows that she's been in some of the other webinars. Her question, for those of you who are still here, is, do you still have the restaurant online ordering? So I don't know if Warren left already. No, looks like Warren is still here. For those of you who are trying to assess how you might serve your clients with OptiChannel, one of the things that we've invested in throughout the course of this pandemic is to give you the ability as a service provider. So you could be a marketing services company, printer, agency, or if you actually run a restaurant or you own a retail type business, we give you the ability to actually transact online, meaning to be able to offer your menu, if you're a restaurant, offer your menu of food items online in a very, very cost-effective way that saves you significant time and money, in contrast to some of the other solutions that are out there. We've done that in response to the pandemic and the difficulty that businesses have shifting online. And so Kamisha is asking if we still offer that. It's not shown here, Kamisha, but yes, that is still part of the offering. Absolutely. You have a client that's interested in it? Okay. So are you working, Mackenzie, with Kamisha already?
I am not.
Okay.
Let's see. Sorry, I'm just answering
Kamisha,
another question. So I just want to know this one.
No problem. Well, that's no problem. So Kamisha, have you already filled in the form? I want to make sure we get back to you. If you have a client interested in that, we can see if it's a fit for them, and how we can get that up and running. You say you just renewed. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. So mindfiremarketing.com/yes for any of you who might also be interested in that. And looks like you're chatting with a few people, Mackenzie, so I don't want to interrupt you there. Let me look through and see if there's any other questions here. Kristen, do you have any questions? Jim, James, Glenn? Gosh, we've already been here 2 hours now. What a flew by when you have fun, right? Yeah. So let's see what other questions you all have. I'm going to bring us up here on the screen. If you have any other questions, I will stick around as long as you need. And Mackenzie is here as well. What do you see, Mackenzie?
I'm just trying to run through to see if we have any other questions.
Okay. Matt, you're welcome. Got to run. Thanks for the valuable info. Melissa says, can you repeat how you read the
social
CIS
selling
page?
Social
selling. Okay. Mackenzie, do you mind going to grab that URL, put it in the chat?
You got it.
Melissa, hang one moment, okay? We'll get that for you, and then we'll tell you about that. Warren says, I deal with a lot of charities. Can we do a donation payment platform and measure the interaction? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Warren. Melissa says, thank you. Jem says, thank you for the session. Have to run. Brilliant. Awesome. Awesome. So we did pick up additional insights. There you go. Oh, Suzanne beat you to it, Mackenzie.
Oh,
so click on that link, Melissa. Suzanne is another fantastic team member here at Mindfire. Yeah, shining star among all the stars. Click on that link, Melissa, and then tell me your number. Oh, only panelists can see. Okay, so not such a shining star then, Suzanne.
Okay. No, she is. She's.
I'll paste it to everybody. Thank you, Suzanne, for doing that. I just sent that to everyone.
Oh no, okay. You beat me.
No, I won. Yeah. Always have to be first. Just kidding. So there you go, Melissa. If you can click on that link, 52. Okay. Mark is asking, can you talk more about the donation platform for nonprofits? Basically, Mark, if you look at the screen here, whoop, no, you can't see it. Let me reshare. So inside of the Mindfire software, you have the ability to, in this screenshot you're seeing here, it says capture leads. In your case, this blueprint would be used to capture donations, so that word changes in that use case. But what you're able to do is create a landing page, simple landing page with all the powerful functionality that we've been talking about today, where you can actually transact. So for example, in the 501c3 realm, that would be likely a donation. For the retail stores that we have, that you would be buying products and services, ordering food items from a menu. That's a very common use case. So you would be doing it here. Let me know if you have any other questions about that, Mark.
And
Mackenzie,
your client
anything you want to add from?
Yeah, I was going to say that if your client has a specific payment processing app that they need to use for whatever reason, we have a few different ways in which we can work cohesively with that as well. So you can transact directly on our landing pages where you can collect payment, or we can also, integrate in some way and work cohesively with the other platform.
Yeah, like what's the one that we love? Blackbaud?
Blackbaud. A lot of people use that one.
Yeah.
But one of the cool things, though, that we see is that, I don't know if you've heard this before, but I always say, for me, is that your growth is going to come from remarketing to people who are engaged, but who don't convert. So let's just say you send out 1,000 mailers or 1,000 emails or something, 1,000 outbound communications to go and drive people to actually transact, right? To donate. Well, a lot of people might visit that page, but they won't donate. So the power of the technology is it gives you insight into who's engaged, who's interested, even if they didn't convert. So what you can do is then take a targeted, focused approach on those 300 people who are minorly engaged and really help you raise those response rates and raise the donation amounts.
If you remember, who asked that? Mark. And forgive me, I know I've asked this already. Mark, were you in the session last week with Mike Robinson, Summit Direct Mail? They have a catchy little phrase, bug until you buy. And we're not necessarily saying, Mackenzie, that you should be bugging them, right? But the ability to retarget and remarket to those people to drive them back in to complete that donation is a very powerful part of the process. Yeah. Warren is asking, if we do A/B testing on social, for example, 2 different stories, can we pull metadata to make sure the story is continued on the landing page as a variable, even if we don't know the individual? Yes, Warren, yes, you can. So I don't know how technical you are, Warren, but it boils down to something like this. In the parameter of the URL that leads to the landing page. Let me pull that back up here on the screen. So in the parameter of the URL that's going to lead to this blueprint here, which is the landing page, you're passing a parameter. It could be anything. You could make it up. It could be, I'll just say P, like parameter equals 1 in one case, and parameter equals 2 in another case. Inside the landing page that you create, then use JavaScript, or we can the script that would then find the parameter in the URL, and based on that, change the content of what you see on the page. That make sense? Warren, let us know. There's a variety of different ways to do that, but let me know if that made sense. If you enjoyed, again, my beautiful drawings there, let me know that as well.
And you could even as a simple way, if anyone else here is on the call and is like, Dave, you just spoke Greek. Simply, you could also just have create your drawings are amazing. Create a few different variations of the actual landing pages and drive them uniquely there.
That's true.
So you can do it both ways. So we often do it with variables, just because for us that allows us to scale if we have multi different variations that we're testing. But you can also just drive people to unique landing pages that are specific to the A/B content.
This is interesting from Mark, which really shows you the power of this philosophy of what we're doing. Mark, I have a question for you here in a minute, but Mark is saying, great engagement to conversion process. I don't know if that's related to the next line, which says this is his first session with Mindfire in 15 years or so. I mean, first of all, Mark, thank you for, that's just crazy. Mark, thank you for attending. Mark, remind me, how did you get invited to today's session? In what channel, what mechanism brought you in today, and what caught your eye about that? That's really helpful to know. And also for the rest of you who are still here, what a powerful testament to communicating with your customers and your prospects in this way, because you never know what's going to happen and who's going to bubble back up to the surface. Warren says, my drawings are amazing. Okay. Thank you, Warren. Mark is saying email using the LinkedIn component. So looks like the optimal channel for Mark in that particular case was email. And the hook that resonated with Mark was talking about LinkedIn. Excellent.
There you go.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for that insight. That's heartwarming. All right. What else do you have, folks? You want to see me draw some more? You want to hear Mackenzie give some more knowledge? You want to answer to one of your burning questions? Let us know. Happy to answer. Mark says, I thought the same about long-term engagement on a different tone. Hey, Picasso, keep your day job. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. I love when I can laugh at myself. This is not representative of my talent in any regard, but thank you for that. I love those drawings. Mark says, thank you for the time again. We have a lot to get through. All good things. Mark, yep. So what else, Mackenzie? You see anything else that we've missed? Any other topics here? I'm going to give everyone a chance. They're still here. They have FOMO. They don't want to miss out. But I'll go ahead and say, unless you have anything else, folks, I want to thank all of you who are still here, whether you're hearing us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, if you're in the recording and you're happening to be seeing this, or if you're seeing it in Zoom. Thank you for being here with me and with Mackenzie and the Mindfire team today. While I got to be the dancing monkey on stage most of the day today, it's really about the team that's here to serve you, that makes all the difference in our technology, in our services, and in our support. And I hope that I was able to communicate a bit of that to you today in terms of how much we care about helping you through this difficult time. So with that, I'll pause for a few seconds here and see if anybody else has any final questions or comments. If not, we can go ahead and bring it to a formal close. Mackenzie, this is probably the longest weekly session we've done so far, huh?
Yep, it is.
Last week was Mike Robinson, Summit Direct Mail. Fantastic interview and just incredible organization.
Go listen. It was great.
Yeah, you really need to. Week before was Brian Galad. Just incredible insight into
Also
LinkedIn,
great.
going deeper into LinkedIn. Melissa says the Mike Robinson interview was awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
Melissa, what stood out to you most about Mike? What stood out to you about what they've done and how they've been able to grow their organization? Just really incredible. And we have so many clients like that, Mackenzie. I can't wait to bring more of them on the show and introduce them to everybody here. So Melissa, would love to know what stood out to you. Huh?
I said, show them off. They're the real stars here, right?
Exactly. They are the stars. Absolutely. Melissa says that Mike utilized pearls, the technology. Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. QR codes. Yeah, we talked about QR codes. Definitely. Thank you, Melissa. Thanks for giving us that input. What do you say, Mackenzie?
I think we're good.
She says, I looked them up more on YouTube videos too. Uh-oh.
All right.
Hopefully those were all informative and instructive.
Yes.
Good info. Okay, good. Yeah, good. He's got a good pizza video, actually, kind of around their pizza QR code solution. I don't know if you came across that one. It's also very informative. Okay, that's the one she was watching. Okay, cool. Very good. Thanks, Melissa. Thanks for that info. All right. With that, Mackenzie, I'll let you close.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for coming. We hope that you got value out of this session. We want you to know that we're here for you. So if any other questions come up, if you want to connect and discuss further, I know that throughout the session, we've put in the chat Dave's cell phone number in which you can text him. You can connect with us on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on any other platforms. We will meet you where you want to talk to us. So feel free to reach out. And thank you for spending your time with us today. We know that time is the most valuable asset you have, so we really appreciate it. And we hope to continue the conversation and get to know you further.
All right, everyone. Have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Bye.